ludziska, siemaneczko i lecimy, o boj. Wtorunio, ludziska, wtorunio, tak jest. A dzisiaj taki niestandardowy dzień, bym powiedział, no bo dzisiaj grać nie będziemy troszeczkę nadrabiać zaległości. Nasze zaległości to na pewno są Trailery, Newsiki i zaległy event Path of Exile 2, więc to sobie dzisiaj przerobimy, zobaczymy jak to czasowo wychodzi, więc no cóż, ja tu jeszcze muszę potwierać parę różnych rzeczy, no bo nie wszystko potwierałem tak jak trzeba, żeby było, więc musimy chwilę. Dobra. Gdzie to jest? To na pewno. Tu się coś pojawiło jeszcze. Dodać. To jest to. Czy ja to chcę tak? To nie tak. Możemy sobie L duplikata dać. Tu mamy L duplikata. Gdzie jest jeszcze nasz kochany Excelik? W razie czego? Żeby móc sobie spisać ciekawe tytuły. Dobra, to jest to. Dobra. Dobra. Co? Lecimy. Hej, zahaczyłem, jak zwykle. Hej, siemanko, ludzkie z tej strony, więc witam was serdecznie w kolejnym odcinku z gameplayem z trailerami. Zaczynamy od Dread Meridian, ludziska, official reveal trailer. Lećmy.
I'm looking for my sister, Isabella.
Izabela, to ty?
Holds a secret, but I haven't heard from her since. I must find her. What happened?
Okej. Zwierka, nie? Przynajmniej wygląda, nie? No właśnie, to zwierka, no. O Jezus.
This writing, could that be Bella's?
She's waiting for us. Tormented Souls 2. A new nightmare.
My name is Caroline Walker. I came to this town to find help for my little sister, Anna. She does this thing where she draws terrifying images and somehow they become real. But it was all a trap, and now they've taken Anna.
O, to jest horrorek. No, to są dwie części z tego.
What happened here?
A, mamy nawet wpisane.
This damn place
Nice.
can bring out the darkness in our hearts. You have no idea how powerful it is.
Takie trochę vibe rezydentowe, stare. Pięknie. Stacks, Blaze of Greed.
Quartz. Everyone's going crazy for a taste of its power. But it also happens to be my favorite flavor. And that means I gotta get to it first. What the fuck are you doing? Can't you see I'm working here? Just try to keep out of sight. Nighty-night.
99, sleepy.
Bet you wish you could do that. Hey, knock that shit off. I did the whole voice in my head thing 2 games ago. Now comes the fun part. I know it's kind of cheating, but I just love the buzz of all this power. And you guys were worried. I told you nothing could go wrong.
Sticks. I am Grand Priest Geoffroy, and I have been tasked with recovering what you stole from us.
That doesn't sound good.
Pięknie, pięknie. Little Nightmares 3. The Carnival.
Hi everyone, I'm Coralie Fignello, global producer on Little Nightmares 3, and today I'm thrilled to introduce you to a newly announced chapter of the game, Carnival. Little Nightmares 3 is an atmospheric adventure game in which you follow the journey of Flo and Alone. They are two best friends ever since they found each other in this lonely nightmare. This time, they are trapped in the carnival, a place that might seem joyful and welcoming at first, but of course, appearances can be deceiving. Behind the colorful lights and twisted attractions hides an uncanny resident, a mysterious, menacing presence whose shadow looms over the entire place. You'll feel it, you'll hear it, you might even catch a glimpse, but never quite enough to feel safe. Apart from the resident, you encounter other unpleasant figures. The
Unpleasant.
cunning and aggressive love putting on a show in the carnival, especially for the herds, who seem oddly captivated by them and by candy. As you'll see, our two characters find a clever way to use that obsession, drawing one of them away to get a safe passage. Little Nightmares 3 is full of eerie challenges. Sometimes you'll have to run for your life. But other times, it's better to be smart and stealthy to survive. Like here, where patience and silence are your best allies. As in the previous titles, you'll face clever puzzles that block your path. But for the first time in the series, you can now play online with a friend and face childhood fears together. Prefer to play solo? Don't worry, the other character will be controlled by a helpful AI companion. Looks like the puzzle has been solved, but don't worry, no spoilers here. You'll get to experience it all for yourself when Little Nightmares 3 launches October 10th, 2025. And if you want to dive into the nightmare right now, pre-order a digital copy of the game on PS5, Xbox Series and PC to get early access to the first title of the franchise, Little Nightmares NS Edition, on the same platform.
Czekamy. Little Nightmares 3. Tak jest, 1 i 2 już u nas dawno zaliczone. Lost Helden. spoko. Norse, out of blood.
Grow strong. Prove yourself. Gunnar, have you come to start work on my smithy?
This place will soon start to feel like home.
We'll get a good price if there's any left alive. We are the store. A fine, fine choice, Gunnar. The first man I kill, I'm taking his shoes. Face me if you dare.
Give them iron! Give them death!
By the door! They're here! Agrippa!
For the freedom! Hayden.
I gave you a second chance. In return, hunt down those that hide from me. So go now and slay Seeker. Lest you wash up again on my shores, your frail body shattered and broken.
Lunar Strike.
So there I was, low lunar orbit, navigating my descent to the regolith. Just log a report, a routine assignment. Easy. But the moon doesn't do easy. Scanning lunar artifacts was my mission, but I was told next to nothing about the lines I had to cross, the enemies I'd face, who I might lose, or how it would change me. My mission seemed hopeless. But I'm not dying here. Not me, and not the ones I love. This isn't the end. It's a new beginning.
It's a new beginning, tak jest. God save Birmingham, tak jest. Gierka zombie. Stomp, tak jest. O, co to Dead Spacik? Typowy stompik. O, pre-alpha testy. Nice. Den of Wolves. Age of Memories.
We have looked into your past.
Ja.
Nothing but darkness.
Darkness is everywhere.
You have all failed time and time again. And as you are now, you are powerless to change your future. Or the future of Harriet. We have seen the promise of your departure, the future, and your defeat. Prepare yourself.
Prepare to die.
We are the last warning of the gods.
Pięknie, pięknie. The Rogue of Prince of Persia.
Of course you would, but you have to be ready to take some heavy blows, quite a lot of them in fact, and just keep on working. That's what happened to us when we made Evil Empire's first game, The Rogue Prince of Persia, and this is how it went. Back in 2020, after the success of our live ops work on Motion Twin's Dead Cells, we met with Ubisoft for a casual dinner at an industry event. Someone from our team decided to go full pedal to the metal and just asked, why not take our knowledge from making Dead Cells and use it to make a 2D action platformer in the Prince of Persia series? And Ubisoft didn't say no. Obviously, we didn't make a deal right there and then, but after a few months, Ubisoft accepted our pitch, which was an action roguelike with 2D fast-paced combat, parkour movement, and a branching narrative. We were going to work on a Prince of Persia game. Call us boomers, but for us, that's a childhood dream come true. Of course, one of the first systems we had to experiment with was the time rewind, the iconic mechanic that we all associate with Prince of Persia. We could make it happen in-game, but it slowed down the fast gameplay too much, which just wasn't satisfying, and it tanked the performance in-engine. As both developers and fans of this series, that was a tough pill to swallow, especially so early in the development process, but we had to move on. So for the next 2 years, the team focused on building a game centered around a 2D parkour system, seamlessly mixing responsive traversal and tight combat with a unique all-run mechanic.
Czyli na to wychodzi, że gdzieś tam jakieś prawa autorskie wykupili, żeby stworzyć tę grę, tak de facto.
We're about to launch the game and boom, the most anticipated action roguelike of the year drops right before us. That was a bit of a hit, but we couldn't do much about that, so we launched into early access on Steam a few weeks later, and there we had another hit. The immediate feedback was honest, direct, and not amazing. Players saw potential in the gameplay, but felt that the content lacked variety and depth. And if we're being honest, they were right. Others, well, let's just say they weren't fans of the art direction. We had actually wondered about this purple problem before. During a brainstorming session about skins, our art director had raised a seemingly innocent question. Are we sure that making the prince purple won't be a problem? Huh? At the time, everyone told him no, he was overthinking it. Colors are cool, they're stylish, it adds a bit of fantasy. Well, now we all know how that turned out.
Środkowy palec, tak jest.
But that's the nature of early access. You launch, you listen to player feedback, and then you adapt to create the best possible version of your vision. Even though player count was low, we still believed in the game. So we set up a battle plan, tackle all the content that the players thought were missing, while at the same time setting up something which is very rare in game development. A complete overhaul of the art style. To give some context, our original inspiration for the art style was based on Persian miniatures, which are flat perspectives, stylized shapes, and bold, unexpected colors. We had mixed this with inspirations from the French graphic artist Moebius, such as clear lines, flat colors, and strong contrast between the foreground and the background. This led us to an art style that was too minimalist and too colorful for fans of both action roguelikes and Prince of Persia. It was our mistake, but since we could change it, we didn't waste any time. As we kept adding to the game's content through monthly updates, our artists got to work behind the scenes. So by November 2024, we had released 7 updates in 5 months.
Okej.
Adding tons of new enemies, a new biome, better progression systems, tripling a number of weapons, and improving the
Dobra, musimy pograć tą gierkę, kurde, nie?
everything that the players thought was missing. Then, in November, we dropped the second act update. Or, as we tried to validate
Second
the
act.
on Steam, a confirmation text was required.
Właśnie, ona wyszła już teraz z Early
Usually
Accessa?
deal, but for some random reason, Steam refused to work unless a Spanish number was used. Don't ask us why. No hablo español. Everyone was panicking for a good couple of hours as we kind of hyped up this update, but luckily, we had a Spanish dev on the team.
Hola, por favor.
Our hero,
Chyba tak,
turned
wyszło,
up
no.
the situation late at night with his Spanish number. Since then, we have a slogan in the team.
Ładnie, kurde,
Steam
ten.
doesn't like
To
the
20 zł kosztuje.
Anyway, the artwork we've been setting up for months was finally released, and the print left purple behind once and for all. And we also dropped 2 new biomes,
Na ile jest
2
gierka?
bosses, and a whole new story act. There was a lot of positive reaction to the changes, and we personally could see that the game was much better, even if we still weren't making huge waves. All that was missing now was polish and content. So since then, we have been improving everything that we can, getting ready for 1.0, where we'll finish a story and tie everything off with a bow. And through all those problems and roadblocks, we've had a great community giving us a helping hand the whole way. Even when it was clear we had a ton of work to do,
12
they've been there
godzin?
giving us support, feedback, and encouragement. So a special shout out to you guys for sticking with us on our crazy journey. And that's the end of the story of the Rogue Prince of Persia. We have no idea what to expect for 1.0, aside from us throwing a hell of a party, because it's our first game we've ever released. But we can definitely say that we are proud of everything that we have done to get here. Here's a taste of the final result.
O, a Instant Gaming? A, nie mają dostępnych kliczy, ale 8 dyszek niby. Spoko. Metal Eden. New gameplay.
Establishing connection. Core Ripper active. Hyper unit is mission go. Give him hell, Hyper.
Sorry about the neighbors. Always trouble with them. A hyper unit in the flesh. Nexus was not lying about you. You are built on a phantom core.
Phantom Car. Oh my dear, oh my.
Science, I have a proposition for you.
Become one of us. 2 września. Dark Hours 1.0. Wychodzi z Early Accessa, nice. Kaczkę ma. Okej. Jump Space. 19 września. Ile access? Jump space. Escape from Terror of... O, 1.0 też. Nice. Abort! Abort! Alarma! Alarma! Code yellow! 15 listopada. No proszę, no proszę. Helldivers 2, join the Helldivers.
The Galactic War. Your chance to serve, to fight, and to sacrifice for a freer tomorrow. Were you there when we conquered the creek?
Yeah, I was there.
Were you there when we cleansed the super colony?
Yep.
I was there.
Were you there when we set our citizens free?
I was there.
They were there. Were you?
No.
Helldivers across the galaxy have been fighting the fight of freedom. Using the latest advanced weaponry to spread our message of peace.
Spread
But
chaos.
the war effort needs your effort. With liberty's enemies closing in from every front, and death and destruction lurking behind every corner. There's never been a better time to become a Helldiver. We have the technology. We have the firepower. All we need is you. So next time we defend freedom, be there. Next time we kill our enemies without hesitation, be there. Next time we are there, be there.
Be there.
Be part of an elite fighting force. And protect the galaxy from all that threatens managed democracy.
Democracy, a tam nuke leci. Okej. A lost soul aside. PC features. Okay. PlayStation. Borderlands 4. Paralowe gameplayu. Ooh. Chroma accelerator. Okay. Science goes boom. Boom, 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 boom. Flux generator. Freeze the force.
I am reborn.
0 point, busting your bubble.
Who said science
bust their asses into nothing less.
Totally worth it.
Tam jakaś prosiaczek był jakiś. Prosiak. Słyszałem go. Dun, 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 dun. The Division 2 official The Pact season.
And again, you've beaten them back. You've held the worst this world has to offer at bay. Carved out safe places where people can build new lives. But our enemies are getting tired of losing. Now, 3 of our greatest threats are joining forces against us. The hyenas, the outcasts, and the true sons. We've never faced a threat on this scale before. The streets of DC are on fire. You have to stop them. You have to break the pact.
Break it. Pięknie, 9 września. Of Ash and Steel.
And today I want to give you a closer look at the gameplay of Ash and Steel. The story of Ash and Steel follows an ordinary man who still has much to learn. You'll encounter many unique and well-developed characters along the way. We've treated their stories with great care, ensuring that every conversation you have helps you dive deeper into the world and understand it better. And that's important because you'll have various options for completing quests and face numerous difficult choices. And as you know, Tristan's actions may shape the lives of everyone on the island. One such choice is where your allegiance lies. Join the Order of the Seven to experience the path of knighthood, or side with the Free Hunters, who live by tough calls made for the greater good. And if coin is what you seek, you may choose to work with one of the island's 3 rival guilds. Hunting, fishing, crafting, treasure hunting, upgrading your gear, or stealing what you can. All of it will help you grow stronger and earn your keep. Level up your blacksmithing to forge a one-of-a-kind sword from your own blueprint, and later, modify or decorate it however you like. If you're tired of sleeping on the ground, you can set up a camp, rent a room, or even purchase a house and furnish it to your taste. Tristan is just a man. Over time, you'll unlock combat stances and a variety of weapons, each with its own feel and tactical advantage. Want sweeping heavy strikes? Grab a 2-handed axe. Prefer light, fast attacks? A rapier might suit you better. You'll also gain access to special abilities that make this former cartographer deadlier with each fight. And eventually you'll tap into ancient knowledge, unleashing long-lost powers to devastate your enemies. The world of Ash and Steel is full of mysteries and activities for every kind of adventurer. We hope you explore it with the same passion we've poured into creating it. Thank you for following our journey, and we'll see you on Greyshaft.
Thank you.
Peggy 16.
Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord, War Sales. Bitki na morzu? Okej. My w dwójkę nie graliśmy, szczerze powiedziawszy. No, bitki na morzu są. Ale muzykę, kurde, ale niezłą, nie? Trzeba przyznać. Damn. Ja pierdzie, ale jaki metal dali, nie? Nieźle, nieźle. Gods, Death and Reapers. Wolcen. The Chosen One.
Not what you imagined, I'm sure. The afterlife you expected is no more. I require talented individuals to salvage what remains. Individuals such as you. Join me, or become one of time's many forgotten. Make your choice. Good. I am told this stings somewhat. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Rise.
Maggot.
Prepare yourself. Your initiation begins.
No. Du. Ja grałem w pierwszą zamkniętą betę, szczerze powiedziawszy. Znaczy w sumie alfę nawet bym powiedział. Ja akurat tak... Średnio mi się to podobało, szczerze powiedziawszy. Ale słyszałem, że sporo pozmieniali. Więc pewnie jak będzie jakaś kolejna alfa albo beta, pewnie obadam. Wtedy akurat pamiętam, że alfy chyba nie można było streamować ani nagrywać żadnych materiałów, szczerze powiedziawszy. Mam nadzieję, że przy kolejnych będzie już można. Help. We are Legion. Your domain? Mine domain.
Become a new afterlife. What we build now will restore the balance, restore order.
Order. I tell you order. Lost Rift. Build and defend. Jest ten kolejny taki ten survival, nie? Ile tych, kurde, tego typu gierek mamy? Słabe przybicie będzie. Słabe niestety. Wątpliwe, żeby to się utrzymywało jakoś mocno. Lost Rift. O, Discounty.
Locals have staged a boycott of the new Discounty supermarket, leaving its aisles nearly empty. Just weeks ago, an upstart out-of-towner rebuilt.
Czyli pod koniec września będzie tam Lost Rift. No, ciekaw jestem. Ale słabo to widzę.
Locals and commuters alike were lured in by its attractive displays and low prices, as it quickly became central to the local economy.
I was doing more business than ever selling at discounting. But I don't know. Weird stuff started happening just as they showed up.
Others say the store's frequent expansion has gone too far and risks damaging the town's cultural heritage. Can Discounty find a way to meet protesters' demands? Or will they be forced to close so soon after opening? Stay tuned. Discounty is out now.
Discounty.
Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch.
Alright, okay. Prop Hound. Hound to build power. Terrorize the investigator. Report hounds. Hound the ghosts. Don't get scared. Hmm, 29 sierpnia. Starbites. Kiepskiej jakości trailer widzę. Wraith Ops.
All squads, we need backup now.
Backup, boys! Backup! We need it! 12 na 12. Czyli to w sumie takie trochę ala... Taki Siege? Alternatywa dla Siege'a? Ja na początku mówiłem, że jakiś taki ala taki Battlefield, ale to teraz tak patrzę i Chyba takie ale bardziej siege'owe, nie? Ale duży miks, nie? Tych wszystkich FPS-ów, które mamy. Guns, guns and guns.
We sent them packing, boys. Return to HQ.
We got it, boys. Let's go, let's go. Borderlands 4 Harlow abilities breakdown.
Borderlands 4 is Harlow. Just the moment I saw her concept, I knew I was going to love this character and love building her. She's kind of super friendly and happy to be there and do science for you. She uses science to just blow all of the enemies out of the water. Harlow's cosmic brilliance tree is all about affecting the battlefield with her flux generator. This action skill throws her flux generator into the environment, and any enemies inside of it become automatically entangled, sharing all damage they take, dealing constant cryo damage to everything inside of it. Additionally, Harlow and her allies get overshield while they're inside of it, so it's something players can use offensively or defensively.
So what makes Harlow's flux generator feel particularly awesome is that sense of battlefield control, in that you get to just throw something down, dish out extra battlefield damage, but also the generator itself gives you an ability to provide some ally support, both for yourself and your buddies that you're playing with. And this is my personal favorite. You can have it so that enemies that are within the vicinity of it completely lose all their elemental resistances, so being able to just be like, I don't want to deal with it. And then also getting a buff to your own status effect application, really nice to kind of try and melt them down.
Harlow's Chroma Accelerator is her giant nuke action skill. This is her boss killer. This is the one where she fires a slow-moving projectile that moves through the environment, and then she can detonate it to make a giant radiation explosion. Harlow's creative burst skill tree is all about using her Chroma Accelerator to deal insane amounts of action skill damage. She has one skill, Cue Ball, that turns her Chroma Accelerator into this bouncing ball that just bounces all over the environment, entangling enemies everywhere it touches and just dealing massive damage everywhere, along with freezing enemies in its path.
There's lots of little things in there that will augment them and change the way that they behave in some capacity. So like you'll have one that makes it so that as it passes through enemies, it'll actually drag them along behind it, which is kind of neat. You can have it where you can extend its duration through causing radiation damage. It'll also allow you to buff your gun, can get faster refunds so that you can use it more often as well.
Harlow's sees the dead skill tree is all about using 0 point to control the battlefield. It can do everything from making massive singularities to draw all the enemies together, to slamming enemies down and creating giant cryo explosions to freeze enemies, or it can even slow down enemies as you critical hit them. Harlow's action skill 0 point is where she can bubble an enemy up into the air. She can slam them into exploding barrels to cause big explosions, or she can throw them into other enemies and just cause general chaos.
For Harlow's Seize the Day, this really focuses in on her stasis. Augments that you can expect to find in here will allow you to do things like ricochet shots off to other enemies that aren't in stasis. You can store damage, and whenever it's ready, it'll pop off a cryo explosion, things like that. You can also have it use healing bursts, which is great both for your own survivability or when you're playing with friends, keeping them up. One thing that I particularly think is really cool about it is when you kill an enemy, it will continue to bounce around to other enemies in the area. This does make it so that the duration on each of those bounces is a little bit shorter, but it's still really cool to see it bounce around and like capture enemies and keep that effect going.
I feel like every time we make a player character, there's always something we have to leave behind that sticks with me and I want to bring into future games. In Borderlands 3, I had to design an Amara skill to where she runs up, puts an enemy in phase grasp, and then kicks them into other enemies. We couldn't really do that in Borderlands 3, but with Borderlands 4, we get to do that with Harlow, where she can pick up enemies and start flinging them into other enemies. I love that she has this giant disco ball of doom that she can send out into a battlefield and just nuke everything. I love that she has the flux generator that she can throw on the ground and either help her allies or debuff all the enemies. And I love her skill where she can bubble enemies into the air and then start slamming them into other enemies. That's something I've always wanted to make a character do in the Borderlands universe, and I finally get to.
So satisfying.
Okej. Pięknie. Du. Replaced.
Hello everyone, this is Yura, game director of Replaced, and I'm here today with a special update. Last year, we had unveiled an extended gameplay look, and were truly blown away by the positive response from the community. I have to admit, it was a little bit scary showing gameplay for the first time. But I'm sure you're all wondering, how far are we from completing the game? So let's dive in. As you probably know, the game has seen a couple of delays. And even though we understand that it's somewhat frustrating, we have always been trying to do what's best for the project, which in turn meant doing everything to try bringing you a truly special experience. Right now, we're really close to finishing production, swiftly going into intense testing and polishing of the game. We have been working really hard all those years to justify the wait. Over the course of time, we have updated and improved every aspect of the game since the announcement. All the environments that you have seen have received multiple upgrades, increasing the overall immersion, as well as visual fidelity of the style.
Nice. Okay.
Some of them have even gotten completely new context, amplifying the significance of certain characters, as well as adding up to a believable story behind those places. Our goal was to make no shortcuts, do everything in a classic way, producing thousands of objects, all in handcrafted pixel art. Speaking of that, nothing shows our commitment to making everything with a human touch more than our animation. Over the years, we have painted a mind-boggling amount of pixel art movements, bringing our character and the people around him to life. Just for our protagonist, Reach, we have done more than 600 clips of animation.
600 klików? Holy shit.
Of hand-painted frames.
600,000
Many
mają.
of those animations are blended together with beautiful VFX, amplifying the mix between retro and modern visuals. All that allowed us to push the variety of story content and cutscenes, creating a seamless blend of cinematic and gameplay bits. We have spent countless hours on blocking our scenes to blend 2D animation, camera angles, and 3D object movement, creating an illusion of a cohesive world. With that being said, it's time for the most important question. When?
Właśnie, kiedy?
This is the first time I'm addressing this personally, and that's because I can finally say it with confidence. Replaced will be released in spring of 2026.
Pięknie.
We will need just a little more time to get it polished.
Polish our games.
Precise. Our final trailer for the game, with the exact release date, will be shown later this year. We will also be sharing more on our social media soon, so please follow us for more updates leading up to release. Just like last time, I'm truly thankful to every person who have been keeping the game in mind for such a long time, enabling us to do something we love and proud to share with the world. I hope to see you at the end of our journey.
Pięknie. Pięknie. I ludziska, dobrnęliśmy do końca naszego odcineczka z trailerami i gameplayem, także ja dziękuję serdecznie za oglądanie i widzimy się już niego w kolejnym. Trzymajcie się. Hej. No i tak, trailerki z głowy. Przynajmniej na tę chwilę. Przynajmniej na tą chwilę. Chły. Dobra. To jest to. Dobra. Co my tu mamy, ludziska? Co my tu mamy? Jeszcze reklama? Reklamo. Dobra, zobaczymy jak tutaj nam to pójdzie z tym. A co my tu mamy? Autotranslate. Autotranslate. Zobaczymy jak z tym pójdzie. Dobra, ludziska, mamy newsika mamy zagraniczny od Asmon Papa, tak jest. Wszystko się rozchodzi odnośnie PayPala, ludziska i Steama, który, ludziska, jak wiecie dobrze, PayPala na Steamie nie ma, przynajmniej dla naszego kraju nie ma. PayPal został ograniczony, jeśli chodzi o płatności w parunastu nawet krajach. Także zobaczmy, co tutaj w trawie piszczy od Asmon Papa.
If you've tried to buy a game on Steam recently, you might have seen this message. Valve has announced the
Gdzie moje napisy, ja się pytam. Auto-generated. Translate me this shit. To jest Asmon Papa.
removal of PayPal as a payment option in many countries.
Dobra, nie ma. Po polsku nie ma.
It's part
Nie
of a
tłumaczy.
bigger problem. The biggest question is, why is this only happening in certain countries?
Dokładnie.
You might remember 1 month ago when we first talked about the collective shout, Steam adding a new rule, and the mass removal of games.
Tak, to wszystko się tyczy odnośnie Visa i Mastercardów, gdzie właśnie tam jakaś tam jedna instytucja naciskała właśnie na te firmy, żeby oni się odezwali do Steama i ci IO, żeby usuwali niestosowne gry, głównie te plus 18, nie oszukujmy się, więc które tak de facto były legalne, więc to trzeba tutaj dodać, które były legalne, jakby nie patrzeć, ale dla nich to były kontrowersyjne, bardzo, bardzo nieodpowiednie gry, które można było płacić i według nich to były właśnie nielegalne gry No i CIO, no to było bardziej sprawa bycia, bo nie być, dlatego populsowało to maksymalnie jak tylko się da i w sumie Valve, czyli Steam, dosłownie praktycznie to samo zrobił, więc, ale oczywiście tam jest dłuższa ścieżka, gdzieś tam w którymś z poprzednich materiałów na pewno wspomnieliśmy o tym, że coś takiego się działo. Tutaj do tego dołącza w sumie trochę, bym powiedział, PayPal, więc ciekawa sprawa, zobaczmy.
That it seemed like PayPal was involved.
Wow.
This is because right at that same time,
What happened?
it seemingly stopped working. It was unknown
What
if
the
this was
fuck?
some bug.
Ooh.
Incidents are actually related to the situation.
Yeah,
now, when you try to use PayPal in an unavailable country, you get this official statement from Valve. Steam stated in early July 2025, PayPal notified Valve that the requiring bank for payment transactions in certain currencies was immediately terminating the process of any transactions related to Steam. This is important because...
Oof.
Ooh, what's the bank? What's the bank that did that?
No właśnie.
Uh-oh.
Because an acquiring bank is the bank that handles...
Czyli no to wychodzi, że to nie sam PayPal, tylko jeszcze jakiś bank, z którego w sumie PayPal korzysta, tak? No to wychodzi?
Those payments on a company's side. Think of it as the bank that collects the money for Steam. They go on to say this affects currencies other than Euro, Canadian dollar, British pound, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, and the United States dollar.
Yeah, so they're trying to exercise this soft power that they have in countries that aren't well regulated in order to try to put pressure on Steam to do what they want. That's what it seems like is happening.
Means that for every other currency in the world, PayPal is no longer a payment option to buy Steam games. They continue by saying, we hope to offer PayPal...
Tak, i to jest najlepsze, nie? Że this affects Steam purchase using PayPal in the currencies older than, czyli płatności PayPalem są tylko i wyłącznie przy płatnościach, jeśli są w euro, Canadian dollar, funt brytyjski, jeny, to jest australijski chyba dolar, no i są dolary amerykańskie, nie? Czyli tak de facto zresztą jeszcze odpytałem się naszego kochanego AI. Zgodnie z aktualnymi informacjami, płatności PayPal na Steamie w Polsce są obecnie niedostępne. Problem pojawił się w lipcu 2.5 i dotyczą płatności w wielu walutach regionalnych, w tym polskich złotych. Z tym wyjaśnia, że jest to wynikiem decyzji banku współpracującego z PayPalem, no to tak jeszcze po polsku, który zakończył przetwarzanie transakcji w niektórych walutach dla platformy Steam. To jest taki mocny zbieg okoliczności, bym powiedział, taki sus na maksa. W związku z tym, jeżeli chcesz dokonać zakupu, bla 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 bla, musisz skorzystać z alternatywnych rzeczy, czyli tam karta kredytowa, wiadomo, przelew 24, które są, PaySource karty, Skrille i środki z portfela Steam. Więc to są te jedyne metody płatności dostępne na Steamie, ale no to taki bardziej mocny minus dla PayPala, bym powiedział, nie?
As an option for these currencies in the future, but the timeline is uncertain. We're also evaluating adding additional payment methods on Steam for the customers affected
That's
by
what they
this.
need to do.
In the meantime, please use one of our other current payment methods during checkout. If you can't use any of the available options, you can consider using a Steam wallet code to add funds to your account. This confirms that they are actively trying to fix a problem that they did not create.
No tak, no bo to nie jest wina Steama samego, no bo oni nie stworzyli tego problemu. I tak de facto wychodzi na to, że PayPal też do końca bezpośrednio nie odpowiada za ten stan, tylko odpowiada bank, z którym współpracują, jeśli chodzi o płatności, no bo to ten bank zakończył płatności w innych walutach, co jest giga dziwne.
With a massive question. If the problem is with Steam's content, why would the bank only care about certain currencies?
Dokładnie, nie?
It's because they can only control those currencies. That's why they're not controlling the larger international currencies like CAD, USD, and euros. But they can exercise this in smaller countries that don't have the same level of legislation. That's why.
Fine in big markets like the US.
To akurat jest dosyć ciekawe, co powiedział Asmon, nie? Żeby kontrolować przepływ pieniądza, nie? No, to też może być faktycznie na rzeczy, nie?
And the EU. One person on Reddit decided to call PayPal's customer service in Poland to get an answer. The lady insisted I
O, i w Polsce, no proszę.
contact Steam because
Yeah.
they were the ones who pulled the plug because Steam prefers customers to use their balance. When the user read the official Steam message to the rep, she became irritated and hung up. Does this sound familiar? Because it should. This is the same thing we saw with MasterCard and Visa.
O, no proszę.
Get audited. That's what they need to do. The government's got to come in and audit them and figure out like who's doing this.
No, to prawda. Powinni zaudytować te wielkie korporacje, te wszystkie banki, które tam są, które są za to odpowiedzialne, no bo nie oszukujmy się, to głównie wielkie korporacje pociągają za te sznurki, ewentualnie ktoś na bardzo wysokim pozycji, no bo jakaś taka mała firma, która, nie wiem, gdzieś tam krzyczy, bo tam jakieś są tam gierki nielegalne według nich i tak dalej i mają pousuwać. Bo moim zdaniem to małe płotki są w tym wszystkim, więc no to tam ktoś musi pociągnąć za naprawdę grubie te sznureczki, nie? Chociaż no, kto wie, w dzisiejszych czasach to różne rzeczy mogą się dziać, więc, ale no właśnie, kurde, to ja obstawiam, że to ktoś z powerem, nie? To wszystko robi, nie?
Subpoena all the data, all of the different call logs, all of the different transactions, communication, and just figure this out. It would take like 5 seconds to figure this out.
Ale nie, akurat tutaj Jasłem przesadził, że 5 sekund to zajmie bo przekopać się przez te wszystkie logi to tak nie jest 5 sekund. Nie oszukujmy się, bo przede wszystkim trzeba zebrać te logi do kupy, trzeba właśnie przejrzeć te logi, przeczytać te logi przede wszystkim, albo jakiegoś, nie wiem, skrypta, albo bota do tego, no to nie jest tak do końca te 5 sekund, nie?
those companies put pressure on Steam, they then publicly denied it.
Na pewno czas zajmie, ale jest to do zrobienia. To jest akurat prawda.
PayPal is now doing the same thing, blaming Steam to avoid talking about their own actions. When you put all the facts together, it shows a clear connection. This is a bigger plan to control what people can and can't buy online.
Tak, dokładnie. To jest narzucanie jakiejś tam konkretnej woli, nie? Na ludzi, nie? Kontrolowanie właśnie ich, co kupują, nie? Nie, tego nie możesz kupić, nie, tutaj ci bana damy, nie? Tego nie możesz kupić, nie. Sklep umożliwia sprzedaż takiego, odciąć ich.
That's right. Yeah, the banks are trying to create a monopoly on currency and a monopoly on trade in order to force certain viewpoints and ideologies into the mainstream that the public isn't accepting.
Dokładnie.
This goes beyond viewpoints and ideologies. It goes into culture. It goes into values, and it goes into everything. That's what they're doing. They're doing that intentionally.
To jest manipulacja, nie?
They've been doing this for a long time. And you should don't let them do it. No, there's no reason to let them do it. I mean, you should have laws that regulate this and prevent it from happening. And yeah, it's insane. Money's a great start to control. Yeah, if you can control the money, you can do that. How did all these ideal pushing fascists get into power? Because who do you think goes after power? People with ideals that want to push it.
Dokładnie.
Situation,
It's the
it all
power
began
paradox.
with an activist group asking payment companies to stop handling
Should have never
payments
done it.
for games with sexually explicit content. MasterCard and Visa were some of the first to act, which led to Steam's new rule. MasterCard did not...
Właśnie, czyli się do tego wszystko zależy, to wszystko jest połączone, jakby nie patrzeć, nie? Więc dlatego też mówię, to jest sas na maksa, nie?
doing this, but Valve's statement proved they were the ones responsible.
Yeah.
At that exact same time, the game store itch.io had its payment services
Well, and it's
with...
also like I immediately believe Valve because they've done this with other people too. They've debanked multiple other groups of people. They've debanked organizations. This is very common that they do this. And they've even, I think a Japanese person at Visa even said that they did it to protect their brand. So, I mean, they've said they did this. They've done it in the past. I mean, this is a pattern of behavior at this point.
Stripe removed. Stripe's statement was clear, saying it couldn't support this kind of content because of its banking partners. This proves that these banks and payment companies are indeed the ones stopping the payments.
And again,
No właśnie, czyli to jest to, co mówiłem wcześniej, to nie tylko tam ta organizacja, która gdzieś tam naciskała tam na Visa i Mastercarda, tylko to właśnie banki, ktoś, kto stoi na wyższym stołku pociąga za te wszystkie sznurki, no bo mówię, płotka nie jest w stanie nic zrobić, jakby nie patrzeć, to musi być gruba rybka, no naprawdę musi być gruba rybka postawiona na wysokim stołku i gdzieś tam uzgodnili właśnie, że no to pokontrolujmy przepływ tej gotówki, nie? Co wy na to, nie? No to tutaj ich odetniemy, tu odetniemy, zobaczymy co zrobią, no i będziemy w domciu, nie?
Like if you were the government, like and you could control this, you could figure this out instantly, right? Like you say, who isn't? Okay, well then they're the ones that are the problem.
Now we have the exact same thing happening with PayPal. A bank on PayPal's side has ended its agreement with Steam. The fact that all these events happened at the same time makes it impossible to think that this is just some wild coincidence. Now you might be wondering, why was PayPal only removed for some countries? They start by making changes in smaller markets with fewer legal protections. This was to test their power and put pressure on companies.
Między innymi Polska, no bo nie oszukajmy, nie mamy żadnych takich zapisów, które by to powstrzymało. Jakbyśmy mieli pewnie euro, no w sumie problemu byśmy nie mieli, nie? Bo euro jest tam dozwolone, nie? Jakbyśmy mieli walutę w euro, no to nie byłoby z tym problemów, nie? Natomiast właśnie te słabsze waluty, no to elo, nie?
Without risking their biggest markets like the US and the EU. This strategy is meant to force companies like Valve to agree to their demands everywhere without a major fight. The good news is that Valve is not giving up. Their statement that they're actively looking for new payment methods for affected customers is a big sign that they are fighting for gamers and will not be...
Oczywiście, że Valve będzie walczyć o graczy, no bo jeśli mają ograniczone możliwości płatności za kupowanie gier, no to jest strata klienta w tym momencie, nie? To klienci pójdą po prostu na inne platformy, Epic, GOG na przykład, albo jeszcze jakieś inne platformy, które są dostępne i tam też będą gry, które chcą kupić, będą dostępne po prostu, nie? No to po co może troszeczkę więcej, no ale będą, nie? Jakby nie patrzeć, nie? Dlatego też Valve walczy, no bo jednak klient to pieniądz. Nie oszukujmy się, nie? No bo to my gracze, po to już mamy te konta, żeby kupować te gry, zwłaszcza jak coś fajnego jest, nie?
Although they sort of have to right now.
Well, they're gonna have to work with them to an extent, right? I mean, like it's an extent, but I think that these companies are doing it on purpose, and I think there needs to be a investigation, like an antitrust lawsuit about this, that puts all of these communications into discovery for the courts. I think that's what needs to happen. That's what hasn't happened yet, and it's a huge problem that it hasn't. If it does, I would be so happy.
Tak, ale zanim się to zacznie, no to też trochę czasu minie, no bo jednak ten pozew, to pozew, czy tam te wszystkie audyty, jak to Asmon tutaj chciał, żeby to było, no to jednak to trzeba wszystko przygotować, to dokumentację, no to wiadomo, cała papierologia i tak dalej, więc to trochę potrwa, więc to nie zadzieje się też od razu, nie? Nawet jeśli się zadzieje w jakimś tam etapie, no to też to się rozciągnie w czasie, nie? Zanim to dojdzie do jakichkolwiek konkluzji, wniosków, wyciągnięcia konsekwencji dla tych firm i no to troszeczkę zajmie czasu, nie? Pytanie, czy ktoś się podejmie tego, od tego zacznijmy, nie? Valve walczy akurat, bo szuka nowych możliwości płatności, to jest spoko, no ale pytanie, co dalej się cokolwiek zadzieje, czy w ogóle się coś zadzieje, nie? To jest najważniejsze.
PayPal ban is not a bug. Whether it's the banks, card networks, payment processors, they all try to deny any of this is happening, but there is a clear history, not just with Steam, but for all kinds of reasons. It's getting so big that we have the Japanese government and even Donald Trump stepping in to stop this from happening by signing a new executive order.
You want me to buy back PayPal? No, you don't understand. Like, it's great to have somebody like Elon Musk that's doing this in a way that is beneficial, that you and I agree with, but ultimately a good billionaire in charge of a situation is still a problematic situation, period. It's not like it automatically makes the situation good. It just makes it palatable in the meantime. Like, nobody lives forever. I mean, I don't know, at least so far. And so the problem is that you can't rely on good actors. If you could just rely on good actors, we wouldn't need any laws.
No tak, to musi być coś bardziej twardszego niż jednostki, jakieś osobistości. Tak jak tutaj Asmon wymienił, że Elon Musk, to musi być prawo, musi być to usankcjonowane. którego by wszystkie korporacje musiały przestrzegać i dlatego tutaj to właśnie Donald Trump podpisał tą ustawę, nie? Żeby nie było jakiegoś tam monopolu i nie mają prawa wpływać, czy tam mieć wgląd na to, co kupujemy tak de facto, nie?
You need to have rules.
I to jest w Stanach niestety, więc to tutaj u nas w Europie nie obowiązuje, nie? Bo jeszcze się tym nie zajęli.
Mentioning how they are going to be adding a new rule, so these financial companies have to stop using reputational risk as a reason to deny business.
Easy.
So now we have
See how fucking easy that is? All you do is you make it a law. Problem solved.
Dokładnie. Tylko też to prawo nie może być dziurawe albo pisane na kolanie.
Removing service on Steam for a bunch of countries because of their acquiring banks, and Stripe removing service on itch because of their banking partners. So this is clearly a massive problem that needs to be fixed. In 6 months though, the government will officially have a strategy on stopping this from happening, which could include new laws and regulations, but obviously this might...
Nie, ale popatrzcie, jak Donald Trump szybko podpisał tą ustawę, czy tam prawo, jak mu to szybko przygotowali, a u nas co się dzieje, kurde, u nas, czy tam w Unii Europejskiej, wszystko się rozciąga w czasie i jak flaki z olejem, kurde, nie? A w Stanach cyk, 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 do widzenia i już mają, nie?
Not help everyone around the world, like what we are seeing with PayPal removing service in select countries. The best part about this new statement, though, is that Valve officially confirms that they are working on new payment methods, especially for the affected countries. We have joked about the idea of Valve Pay, but Valve joining the payment space to avoid these problems really doesn't seem like a stretch anymore. Around 20...
I mean, I think that a lot of people want to have a payment processor that's a payment processor. Not a sensor, not a method of control, just a processor that processes payments. It's literally that simple.
12 to 2013, Valve became concerned that Microsoft's new Windows 8 and its App Store model could threaten Steam's dominance.
Windows 8, not a good time.
Gaming. This worry directly led...
Uma Masume is #1? Oh my god.
Top selling.
Holy shit, can you believe that?
Gaming. This worry directly led Valve to create its own operating system, SteamOS, to reduce its reliance on
Expect
which anyone who knows about SteamOS now, it outperforms Windows on gaming benchmarks. With this being such a big issue, that clearly shows how these companies like Steam heavily rely on these payment companies, and Gabe Newell loving to be a game changer from his deep sea marine research to his neuroscience brain implant company, I wouldn't put it past them to try to make a solution. We also can't forget Elon Musk, who is aware of the Steam censorship and has mentioned he is working on XPay. So this is a problem that we are dealing with right now, but hopefully it will
it's like having Elon Musk do it would be great, right? But at the end of the day, that's still one person, right? You've got to have more to it than just that. I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but yeah, it's literally just that simple. But for some people, they don't really get it.
be fixed soon. Do you think we can see Rule 15 removed from Steam by next year?
Yo, what's up, guys? We are in Dallas, Texas today.
Yeah, I mean, there it is, and Elon will stop them. You know, I mean, I think that really the problem is not exactly Elon. It's not like
if you've tried to buy a game on Steam,
you can solve a symptom by replacing it with a better symptom, but at the end of the day, you still have the same problem. You really see that? Like, you get the point, right? Is like, just because you have a positive disease, it's still a disease.
No tak.
You don't want to have any diseases. Like, you don't want to have this weapon be usable by anyone. That's
Dlatego prawo musi być ustanowione, nie?
Have this weapon exist, period. Now,
Bo to, że się pojawią kolejne firmy, które będą procesować płatności, no to nic nie da, jak tutaj Asmon mówi, nie? Bo to może po prostu zostać wykorzystywane, nie? Dlatego muszą powstać odpowiednie prawa, bo prawo po prostu jedno, które mówi, że sorry, ale nie możecie tak zrobić i do widzenia, nie? Bez tego to będzie lipa na maksa.
Which I think Elon on these issues, I am pretty much completely aligned with him on these issues. I think most people are. And yeah, wasn't Elon the early founder of PayPal? I think he was. Yeah, he was. And so like, but what he did with PayPal in like 1999 isn't today, right? I don't believe Elon at all, to be honest. Why? I mean, Elon clearly followed through with what he promised with Twitter. He did. He unbanned Alex Jones. He unbanned Nick Fuentes. He unbanned Donald Trump. He basically enforced freedom of speech. He did it. He delivered. Like he said he was going to do the thing. He did the thing. That's it. And so, yeah, I would fucking believe him. So, and also, like, by the way, like, he would, why wouldn't he want to do that? Like, it's another method of him having more control over economies and having another vector of business that he can operate under and function under. It's common sense that he would want to do this himself. Of course he would want to do this. Yeah, it's more vertical integration for all of his businesses.
No tak.
It's more money, more control, more in-house decision-making. You're removing another outside actor. It aligns with his decision-making completely. So yeah, it's really just that simple. And Elon isn't enforcing freedom of speech because he's still censoring things he personally doesn't like. Well, before we move on, I'd like to let me give the video a like. I mean, Waters made a lot of really good videos about this topic, and I agree with him. Can you give me an example of that?
A, dobra, tutaj już gada ten z ziomeczkiem. No, ale jestem ciekaw właśnie, jak to dalej się potoczy z tym PayPalem, bo to jest bardzo ciekawy i intrygujący temat, tak samo jak z Vizą i Mastercardem, które też jeszcze do końca nie zostało chyba rozwiązane swoją drogą poza Stanami, gdzie Trump tam podpisał tą ustawę, czy tam to prawo, które nie pozwala na taką integrację. Czy tam ingerencję, przepraszam bardzo, nie integrację, tylko ingerencję właśnie takich firm procesowych płatności, że nie mogą ingerować, więc to jest spoko. Pytanie, kiedy Europa się zabierze, albo ewentualnie nasz polski rząd, no bo nie możemy pozostać mocno w tyle, powinniśmy po prostu działać od razu, nie? No bo jak zaczniemy działać od razu, grupowo, że tak powiem, czyli X kraj wprowadzi od razu prawo, no to będą wtedy wiedzieć te procesy, te firmy, które procesują te wszystkie płatności, że no jednak chyba to była zła decyzja, nie? A dopóki nie będzie niczego, no to wola Amerykanka i do widzenia, nie? I tak będziemy po prostu w dupę ujemni. No zobaczymy, wszystko tutaj wyjdzie jeszcze w pranku zapewne, ale mam nadzieję, że to wyjdzie na plus dla nas, konsumentów, szczerze powiedziawszy, bo dziwnie będzie, jak będziemy mocno ograniczani, albo będą mieć wpływ na to, co będziemy kupować, nie? I za co będziemy płacić tak de facto, nie? To jest to. Dobra, dobrze. To jest to jeszcze, spoko. Dobra, z tego co widzę, tu mamy jeszcze cięsiki. No spokojnie damy radę. Nie, spokojnie. Dobra, ludziska, kolejny newsik. Lootboxy odnośnie, że naprawią Battlefielda 6. No jestem ciekaw, co tam ciekawego się pojawi. Jakieś ogromne błędy odnośnie PlayStation. I polski Souls-like. A to chyba widzieliśmy jakiegoś trailerka. Ciekaw jestem. Lećmy.
Sony jest tak trochę w dupie, a nowa sytuacja, która wydarzyła się w Bungie, jeszcze bardziej to potwierdza. Dostaliśmy obszerny gameplay z polskiego Souls-like'a FPP. Hollow Knight przeżywa teraz swój najlepszy okres, a twórcy Battlefielda 6 dają znać, co będą...
No tak, no bo jak ogłosili premierę ten Silksonga, no to wszyscy się rzucili na Hollow Knight, żeby grać, albo sobie odświeżyć przede wszystkim, więc no, to jest ciekawe.
Poprawiali. To i kilka innych pomniejszych newsów w dzisiejszym materiale. Subskrybujcie kanał, a tymczasem zaczynam. Już niedługo premierę będzie miał Hollow Knight Silksong, gra, na którą czekaliśmy bardzo, bardzo długo. Premiera odbędzie się 4 września, a osoby, które jeszcze jedynki nie skończyły, teraz zostały jeszcze bardziej zmotywowane
Dokładnie.
do tego, żeby wrócić i w końcu skończyć tę piękną przygodę.
Czekajcie, teraz zobaczmy sobie, jaki jest teraz pik. Steam Database. To tylko, żeby nie było, to jest tylko i wyłącznie Steam, no są jeszcze inne platformy, na których Hollow Knight jest dostępny. Czyli tak, aktualnie mamy 37 000 graczy, jakby nie patrzeć, więc no 24-godzinny pik jest all-time pikiem sprzed 4 godzin, tak de facto, więc tak to tu się prezentuje, czyli 46, no 45,5 liczymy, więc ładnie, bym powiedział, nie? Tutaj był ten pik, nie? 21, no, czyli Gamescomy, jak ogłosili. Ziuch, poszło. I tu jeszcze bardziej. Ziuch, ziuch. 45, no. Ładnie pocisnęli.
Dlatego też na takim Steam Database zauważyć możemy, że Hollow Knight święci triumfy. 33 062 graczy w all time peak.
O, teraz już jest więcej, nie? Żeby nie było.
Jeśli zobaczymy sobie na wykres, to tym bardziej widać różnicę. Oczywiście gra znajduje się również w Game Passie oraz na innych platformach, ale wiadomo, Steam to jest ta taka główna platforma, na której
Dokładnie.
mam jakieś informacje do
To, co mówiłem.
Ilości graczy po zapowiedzeniu Silksonga wzrósł aż o 13 000. Pewnie wiecie, że Sony od jakiegoś czasu miało strategię na to, żeby wypracować sobie jakąś jedną lub dwie, im więcej tym lepiej, gier usług, które przynosiłyby im ogromne pieniądze. Był pomysł na stworzenie Horizona Online, był pomysł na stworzenie God of War'a Online, był pomysł na stworzenie Spidermana Online, no i oczywiście był pomysł na stworzenie The Last of Us Online.
Serio? A czy no akurat The Last of Us jeszcze w miarę by było sensowne, bo to też miał jakiś taki tryb chyba online'owy, czy nie miał? Już teraz nie pamiętam. Taki, żeby... Ja właśnie w sumie nie wiem, kurde, czy miało, czy nie miało, kurde, coś chyba miało, tak mi się kojarzy, że coś miało, nie?
Czyli wszystkie te najpopularniejsze franczyzy miały mieć swój online'owy odpowiednik.
No, ale tutaj dedykowanie miało powstać.
Concord, no i większość tych gier poleciała. No i skasowano takie The Last of Us 2 Multiplayer. Projekt, nad którym pracowano aż 4 lata. No i nie zatrzymaliśmy się przy The Last of Us bez powodu, ponieważ dyrektor tego projektu założył swoje własne studio. On produkuje właśnie grę multiplayerową. Reżyser anulowanego The Last of Us Online twierdzi, że jego nowe studio w USA i Japonii pracuje nad kinowym tytułem wieloosobowym.
Bold statement.
Winicie Argavalm. Pracował on w Naughty Dog ponad 10 lat, a jego droga w studiu skończyła się wraz z końcem wsparcia wersji online The Last of Us. Teraz w wywiadzie powiedział, że chciałby stworzyć grę wieloosobową, która oferowałaby poziom akcji zbliżony do typowej gry jednoosobowej studia Naughty Dog. Jako że w przeszłości zajmował się takimi tytułami jak Uncharted 4, Uncharted Zaginione Dziedzictwo i właśnie The Last of Us Part 2, no to nic dziwnego, że akurat w tę stronę chce celować. Zajmowałem się głównie walkami z bossami, a walki z bossami w Naughty Dog to zazwyczaj pojedynki 1 na 1. Chciałem więc, żeby gracze czuli się, jakby walczyli z człowiekiem, a nie sztuczną inteligencją, nawet w trybie dla jednego gracza. Ziomek pracował nad finałowym bossem w Kresie Złodzieja oraz walką Ellie z Abby. Mechanicznie, no nie da się ukryć, że to nie są najlepsze walki, więc jakoś bardzo się nie nakręcam, zobaczymy co z tego będzie.
Ale podsumowało go, nieźle.
Zostajemy przy Sony i co ciekawe gra w usługach, dokładnie Maratonie. To jest ta kolejna gra, która no nie ma świetlanej przyszłości.
Nie ma świetlanej przyszłości, to było powiedziane. Concord 2.0 się szykuje. Po prostu, to trzeba powiedzieć wprost. Concord 2.0 się szykuje w wydaniu Bungie, a Sony wtopi ponownie, szczerze powiedziawszy, jeśli faktycznie coś z tym nie zrobią, bo... Ale z tego co kojarzę, oni nie przenieśli tej premiery na przyszły rok. Jakoś coś ten desen, kiedy to teraz wychodzi? Teraz zobaczmy sobie... Kiedy zapowiedzieli? No bo przecież był ten wielki stream, że pokazywali i tak dalej, ogłaszali, przy okazji wyszło, że używali AI, to jest raz, a dwa, chyba ukradli asety od kogoś też, więc to jest to. Maraton, dobra, zobaczmy. Nie ogłosili jeszcze nie ogłosili, więc no to już tym bardziej jestem ciekaw, kiedy ogłoszą. Ale moim zdaniem mają tam gigantycznie sporo roboty. To takie nijakie jest, nie?
No bo co tam dostaliśmy z tego? Dostaliśmy na początku całkiem sympatyczny cinematic, ale potem dostaliśmy gameplay, który wyglądał parszywie, wyglądał bardzo generycznie, nudno.
No.
Ale mimo tej charakterystycznej stylistyki to wygląda strasznie blado, pusto.
No po prostu piksele jakieś, bez żadnych nakładek, kurde, graficznych, bo coś w tym stylu, nie? No spoko, poszli pewnie może chcieli zaprezentować samym gameplayem, samym feelingiem gameplayu, no i samą otoczką graficzną, bo celowali w jak największe grono graczy, żeby to nie było jakoś wymagające, bym powiedział, pod kątem parametrów sprzętowych i może dlatego, ale no to słabo wygląda strasznie, nie?
Potem doszła do tego afera, że ludzie zaczęli znajdować różne murale, różne grafiki, które zostały bezprecedensowo pożyczone od artysty z internetu. Do tego Bungie ostatnio straciło ponad 700 pracowników w przeciągu roku. No i na koniec pojawiło się opóźnienie, no bo co innego nie ma.
Właśnie, dobrze mówiłem.
W tym momencie.
Dobrze pamiętam jeszcze, że faktycznie opóźnili, nie? Bo mieli coś zapowiedzi, ale przesunęli premierę i teraz nie wiadomo na kiedy, nie?
Jak nie, przeczekać tą burzę trochę, może te grafiki popodmieniać, spróbować coś jeszcze tam doszlifować, no bo nie widzę innej opcji, żeby ta gra, nawet mimo tego opóźnienia, nie widzę
trochę doszlifować to mało powiedziane, ja bym powiedział, że tutaj 99% gry muszą pozmieniać.
Opcji, żeby ta gra była sukcesem, a co dopiero bez tego opóźnienia.
No nie, no to będzie Concord 2.0.
Na tą kubkę wstydu dochodzi jeszcze jeden problem. Dyrektor generalny Bungie, Pete Parson, odchodzi po latach krytyki, zwolnień i niesławnej kolekcji klasycznych samochodów.
No nie dziwię się, jak pewnie ten usłyszał tą całą krytykę odnośnie maratona, no to powiedział nope, ten za tektonie, ja się eksmituję.
Jest to ziomek, który od bardzo, bardzo dawna pracował w Bungie, a teraz przekazał swoją pochodnię, jak sam to powiedział, Justinowi Trumanowi, który za to w Bungie spędził 15 lat. Jestem niezmiernie dumny ze światów, które wspólnie zbudowaliśmy i z milionów graczy, którzy nazywają je domem. A przede wszystkim jestem zaszczycony możliwością pracy u boku niesamowitych umysłów Bungie. Wydaje mi się, że tego odejścia ludzie nie będą jakoś bardzo opłakiwać, no bo ziomek jest związany z masą afer w studiu. Mamy tutaj na przykład dyrektor generalny Bungie przeprasza po druzgocącym raporcie ujawniającym kulturę jawnego seksizmu. Była też sytuacja, kiedy stworzyli tak zwany Content Vault do Destiny 2, czyli taki kosz, do którego wkładane są DLC-ki, które już nie cieszą się tak dużym zainteresowaniem, więc nawet jeśli mieliście to DLC kupione, no to oni wam je wywalali. Potem się z tego wycofali po dużym backlashu od ludzi, ale mimo wszystko, zrobili to, nie? To się nawet wiązało z problemami prawnymi.
Naprawdę?
No i oczywiście był też moment,
A co? Ci co? Kupowanie DLC-ka. Stwierdzili, nie, usuwamy DLC-ka. Usuwali DLC-ka i co, nawet nie oddali hajsu, ani z nim poinformowali, tak? Bo nie rozumiem tego. Naprawdę? Naprawdę?
kiedy Bungie zostało zakupione przez Sony, gwarantując przy tym, jak to zwykle bywa, niezależność. Ale ostatnio bardzo mocno widać coraz silniejsze integrację ze strukturami PlayStation Studios. Sytuacje, które dzieją się w Bungie, sytuacje, które dzieją się z Maratonem, a wcześniej z Concordem, pokazują nam bardzo dosadnie, jak Sony nie potrafi sobie poradzić ze stworzeniem gry usługi. Przypominam, oni kupili studio Bungie za 3,6 miliarda dolarów.
Czyli znowu kasę w błoto wywalili, szczerze powiedziawszy, nie? Nie dość, że najpierw ten Concord, całe studio, nie? Bo tam też zapłacili, wykupili. Ile tam było? 400 milionów, czy coś w tym stylu? Ja pierdzielę, masakra, nie?
Na to, że skoro stworzyli Destiny, to im też stworzą dobrą grę usługę. PlayStation to jest gigant, ma on dostęp do masy deweloperów, ma ogromne fundusze, a przepala je na projekty, które nigdy nie ujrzą światła dziennego lub wyjdą wyglądając jak taki Maraton czy Concord. Sony jest w kompletnej dupie, jeśli chodzi o live serwisy i pytanie, która gra spowoduje, że w końcu popatrzymy na to Sony i powiemy okej, tym razem wam się udało, tym razem stworzyliście dobrą grę usługę, którą chcecie grać. W tym roku na Gamescomie pojawiło się kilka naprawdę intrygujących gier. Jedną z nich ewidentnie jest polski Souls-like FPP, czyli Valor Mortis. Jest to tytuł autorstwa One More Level, czyli autorów serii Ghost Runner, a zabiera nas do alternatywnej wersji XIX-wiecznej Europy, która została całkowicie przejęta przez Napoleona, potem, jak widzimy na trailerach, przez jakąś zarazę. No i dostaliśmy trailer, dostaliśmy cinematic, ale rzućmy sobie okiem na gameplay, 30-minutowy gameplay i w ogóle na Gamescomie też było demo. Jak ktoś był, to pewnie graliście, dajcie znać w komentarzach, jeżeli coś tam udało wam się naszpącić w tej gierce. Na rynku do tej pory chyba nie było ani jednego Souls-like'a, który dobrze wykonałby perspektywę pierwszej osoby. W tym samym czasie co Valor Mortis powstaje coś takiego, co się nazywa Covenant i to wygląda całkiem spoko, ale no nie dostaliśmy tak obszernego gameplayu jak tutaj. Widać, że ta gra w tym momencie ma już ręce i nogi. Otoczenie wygląda bardzo ładnie. W końcu się cieszę, że to nie są jakieś te Chiny, takie starożytne, mityczne Chiny, po Wuchangu i po Black Wukongu. A tutaj w końcu mamy coś oryginalnego. Ta kompletna szarość wojenna, którą przebijają tylko jakieś czary lub elementy nadprzyrodzone. Bardzo mi się to podoba. Walka oparta jest na parowaniu oraz na unikach. Chociaż z tego gameplayu wynika, że o wiele bardziej opłaca się tutaj parować, bo kiedy porządnie nam się uda sparować przeciwnika, dostaje on stuna i wtedy praktycznie od razu możemy go wykończyć. Coś jak w Sekiro. Do dyspozycji dostajemy szabelkę, dostajemy broń palną.
Ładnie to wygląda.
Magię niejako. Chociaż w pewnym momencie pojawia się koło wyboru broni, które pokazuje, że tych broni będzie nawet więcej. Pistolet nie jest tylko miłym...
Nie powiedziałbym, że to akurat sloty akurat na broń są, bo tam jeszcze była jakaś umiejka czy coś w tym stylu, więc... No, z tym bym uważał, nie? Niekoniecznie te kółka oznaczają, że to wszystko są na bronie, nie? Więc to jest to, nie?
Dodatkiem, bo dzięki niemu możemy trafiać przeciwników w słabe punkty. Więksi wrogowie mają na ciele porozstawione takie kropki dziwne, no nie? I kiedy trafimy w tą kropkę, no to dostaje on extra damage. Dzięki pistoletowi możemy też otwierać jakieś bramy. Ale walka z tą bestią ma jeden ciekawy detal. Zauważcie, że gościu celuje prosto w jego rękę, a następnie udaje mu się ją odstrzelić. I do tego oczywiście moje przypuszczenie, ale mam nadzieję, liczę na to, że takich przeciwników będzie więcej i trafiając w takie czułe punkty, które odrywają jakąś część jego ciała, będziemy mogli anulować niektóre sekwencje ataków. Amunicja do pistoletu też...
Albo no może nie tylko sekwencje ataków, ale także i jakieś kombosy, które wykorzystują. To jest naprawdę ciekawa była mechanika, nie? Że bez jakiejś tam kończyny nie będzie wykonywać jakichś tam konkretnych kombosów, nie? No bo nie będzie miał tej ręki, nie? Albo będzie wykonywać i mu się nie uda, będzie failować, nie? To by było ciekawe też.
Będzie ograniczona i będziemy musieli ją znajdować na mapie, więc nie będziemy mogli abuzować tej mechaniki. Po krótkiej przechadzce gościu dochodzi do bossa. Bardzo fajnie zdesignowanego. Przypomina mi trochę takiego Godrika, który ma pozlepiane różne części ciała, jest poszywany, nie? Ziomek od razu na początku bierze się do tego, żeby zestrzelić mu całe punkty na ciele. Boss wyprowadza atak podświetlony na czerwono, co sugeruje nam raczej, że to jest atak, którego nie możemy sparować. No i tu
hemoroidy mu celuje.
Mianowicie ten przeciwnik w tym momencie będzie wykonywał graba. No właśnie, ten hitbox wygląda trochę nienaturalnie, jak sobie to zwolnimy.
No nie, no chwycił go...
Zobaczymy, że ziomek jest ewidentnie
poza zasięgiem, tak, jak go chwycił, no.
W dobrym momencie, a i tak postać przeskoczyła do graba, nie? Więc wydaje się, że te hitboxy będzie tutaj trzeba jeszcze dopracować, żeby gra była sprawiedliwa. PlayStation drożeje o $50 w Stanach Zjednoczonych. Podwyżka dotknęła zarówno PlayStation 5, które teraz kosztuje $550, wcześniej kosztowało 500, jak i PlayStation 5 Pro, za które teraz zapłacić będzie trzeba $749. I według Sony decyzja standardowo podyktowana jest rosnącymi cenami produkcji. Ostatnio odbywała się...
Serio? Rosnącymi cenami produkcji? Gdzie oni to produkują? U siebie? Czy w Stanach Zjednoczonych? Import i eksport.
Beta Battlefielda 6 i wydaje mi się, że ludzie bardzo mocno się podzielili, jeżeli chodzi o to, jak odbierają to, co grali ostatnio. Mamy graczy, którzy uwielbiają to, co tam widzą. Po drugiej stronie ludzi, którzy są rozczarowani. I ja zaliczam się do tej grupy.
Ja sądzę, że to rozczarowanie to bardziej ci więksi streamerzy, którzy chcą albo liczyli na to, że Battlefield 6 będzie nowym Call of Duty. Bo ostatnio właśnie coś takiego słyszałem, widziałem, że ci więksi streamerzy, zwłaszcza zagraniczni, to sądzili właśnie gdzieś tam naciskają, żeby to był jakiś taki Call of Duty, tylko w formie Battlefielda, nie? No halo. Call of Duty, no to wypada Call of Duty. To jest Battlefield, jakby nie patrzeć. Natomiast może rzeczy, które mi się nie podobały, no to wiadomo.
Numer 2. No bo...
To na pewno zrobiłem w tym materiale, w moim takim podsumowaniu odnośnie otwartej bety, ale na pewno to były lagi, server tick rate, czyli to, co mówiłem wcześniej i głównie mówiłem, że ta rejestracja tych pocisków, kurde, posysała niesamowicie, no bo po prostu 60 Hz to jest za mało, kurde, 128 absolutny minimum, a najlepiej jakby było 256, to już w ogóle w średnim niebie i by praktycznie wszystko rejestrowało tak jak trzeba, a no nie dostaliśmy tego, więc zobaczymy.
W becie mieliśmy dostępne 4 mapy. 8 będzie nowych map autorskich, więc w becie dostaliśmy połowę map, które pojawią się w grze. I problem jest taki, że 3 z tych 4 map są identyczne. Wyglądają trochę inaczej, ale gra się na nich identycznie. Czyli wąskie uliczki między budynkami, duża dynamika starć, randomowość. Jest to doświadczenie dużo bardziej zbliżone do tego, co oferuje Call of Duty, ponieważ gra bardzo mocno premiuje szybką grę. Premiuje to, jak szybko biegasz.
Tak, dokładnie. Tutaj zmodyfikowali trochę ten cały gameplay, że jest mocno szybszy w porównaniu do poprzednich Battlefieldów i poszli trochę właśnie w stronę koda, no bo przede wszystkim jest ten ślizg też, nie? Który trzeba było zbindować, no bo domyślnie nie jest zbindowany klawisz do tego, więc dziwne, ale tak było.
Premiuje to, jak skaczesz. Premiuje to, jak robisz ślizgi, a potem z tego ślizgu przechodzisz do skoku. Brak tutaj miejsca na jakieś wspólne, zaplanowane akcje ze znajomymi, bo cała gra pędzi przed siebie i nawet jak próbujesz się z ziomkiem złapać gdzieś na polu bitwy, to i tak dostajecie kulkę nie wiadomo...
Tak,
System
stupy.
strzelania pod względem udźwiękowienia jest ok, dalej nie ma podjazdu do takiego Battlefielda 1.
Czy jest ok? Może jest ciutkę lepsze, te audio, ale nadal uważam, że gra ma problemy z audio i ja po prostu w niektórych sytuacjach nie słyszałem w ogóle kroków przeciwników, więc no ja bym nie powiedział, kurde, że jest to dobrze, nie? To też te audio powinno być też poprawione.
Ale problem jest taki, że bronie są bardzo słabo zbalansowane, no bo taką moją czwórką strzela się o wiele gorzej.
Wolno.
Blokowany na 10.
Wolno, ale to też jest pewnie kwestia rejestracji pocisków, nie? Jak się wypływa, no po prostu serwery są za wolne, nie?
W tym poziomie AK-205, które jest laserem. Ta broń jest kompletnym laserem. Jako że ja zawsze grałem medykiem, no to po prostu denerwuje mnie to, że Battlefield z każdą kolejną odsłoną obniża wartość tej klasy. Bo dalej podtrzymują ten pomysł, że leczyć ziomka może również osoba, która nie jest medykiem, a wystarczy, że jest z nim w drużynie. To po cholerę jest medyk w tej drużynie, żeby leczyć o 2 sekundy szybciej? Ja na tego Battlefielda to mógłbym narzekać 30 minut prosto, nie? Ale wydaje mi się, że trochę się spóźniłem z tym materiałem i co miało zostać powiedziane, to już zostało powiedziane, więc bliżej premiery, jak już twórcy zrobią to, co obiecują, to będziemy to rozliczać, nie? Bo na razie...
Dokładnie. No, dlatego też mówię, poczekajmy aż wyjdzie premiera, zobaczymy, czy faktycznie coś pozmieniają, czy wyciągną wnioski z bety, no bo mówię, te buildy, które my dostaliśmy, też mogły być zdecydowanie starsze niż to, co już w sumie tak de facto mają, no bo już niewiele czasu zostało do premiery, 10 października, tak swoją drogą przypominam, więc status Golda na bank już mają, więc mówię, to co my dostaliśmy, to są jakby jakieś testy serwera, który był obciążeniowe, plus ewentualnie jakieś bugi, glitche, których wcześniej nie wyłapali, które jeszcze mogą zaimplementować w Day 0 czy tam Day 1, jak to zwał patchu i do widzenia, nie?
Duży skrawek, co prawda, słaby skrawek, ale nadal skrawek, nie? No ale tak, twórcy zaadresowali problemy, które będą naprawiane do premiery gry. Wprowadzają zmiany do broni, żeby zapewnić bardziej spójne i satysfakcjonujące wrażenia strzelania. Skupiają się na dopracowaniu odrzutu oraz strzelania pojedynczego we wszystkich rodzajach broni. Nerfią tą strzelbę, z tej informacji chyba wynika, że teraz będzie zadawać mniej obrażeń.
Dobrze mówiłem, że ta strzelba jest, kurde, zbyt dupi. A gdzieś chyba... Właśnie, to chyba na TikTok ktoś mi skomentował pod jednym shortsem, że jest okej, nie? Mówię, really?
Zmniejszono pęd, zwłaszcza prędkość poziomą, przenoszony ze ślizgu do skoku. Teraz za kolejne skoki będzie obowiązywała kara i skok będzie coraz niższy. Jest to fajna zmiana, chociaż ja bym całkowicie ślizg wyeliminował. Na jednej mapie można było wychodzić na dach.
Nie, akurat ślizg moim zdaniem jest spoko, ale też żeby nie można było nim cały czas spamować, nie? To by było spoko, nie? Że jednak ta stamina gdzieś tam spada, tak jak przy skoku, nie? Że jak częściej będziemy, no to coraz niżej, no bo ta stamina się kończy, więc tutaj przy ślizgu bardzo podobnie, nie? Żeby to jakoś miało ręce i nogi, że okazjonalnie od czasu do czasu tym ślizgu użyć, nie? A nie cały czas, nie? Ja tam abuzowałem ten ślizg.
I oczywiście nie było to, że twórcy sobie zaplanowali, tylko ludzie po prostu znaleźli jakąś wyrwę lub używali specjalnej drabiny. No i to są te najważniejsze rzeczy, które zostaną naprawione. Prawda jest taka, że najwięcej przy tym Battlefieldzie to zależy od map. Jeśli one będą fajnie zaprojektowane i będą się przede wszystkim odróżniać od siebie wielkością, różnorodnością budynków, sposobem grania na tych mapach, a nie tylko color gradingiem, no to będzie bardzo fajnie. Ale niestety po becie nie mogę tego powiedzieć. Za 300 zł kompletnie odradzałbym wam zakup. Pobrałem sobie
Wykupić w abonamencie jeszcze można by było za te 5 dyszek, żeby obadać sobie. Ale no, wiadomo, jeśli ktoś ma inne gierki do gry, no to zwłaszcza Battlefield 1 czy 5, to zawsze lepiej w to pograć jeszcze przez jakiś czas i odczekać, aż ponaprawiają. Coś podobnego ja zrobiłem w stylu Battlefield 2042, gdzie mocno późno kupiłem i to jeszcze na wielkiej wyprzy razem z Jackiem, więc...
Battlefielda 1 ostatnio. Fenomenalna jest ta gra. A jeśli macie inaczej i wam się podobało, się zdecydujecie na zakup, to przynajmniej tego nie preorderujcie. Nie wiecie, co będzie tam w pudełku schowane.
Dokładnie.
Oni wam teraz mogą nawijać makaron na uszy. Okaże się, że każda mapa jest taka sama. Każda mapa jest labiryntem budynków. Mówią, że coś poprawią, to może to poprawią, może tego nie poprawią. Nie ma co ryzykować.
Dokładnie.
300 zł. 300 zł na chodniku nie leży, nie? Takim morałem was zostawiam dzisiaj.
Tak jest. 300 zł nie leży na drodze, ani nigdzie indziej, więc trzeba uważać z tymi preorderami i generalnie zamawianiem, graniem w dniu premiery, czy nawet dzień po, więc lepiej tydzień, 2 tygodnie, nawet czasem miesiąc w tym momencie się opłaca odczekać i zobaczyć, nie? Ewentualnie jeszcze popatrzeć na opinie innych, już nie mówimy o krytykach, nie? Ale opinie innych graczy, czy tam też streamerów, ale to też wiadomo z przymrużeniem oka, gdzieś tutaj to wyważyć i zobaczyć, jak to w pranku wyjdzie. No ja na bank pewnie w dniu premiery nie będę badał Battlefielda, bardziej po. Kiedy? Ciężko powiedzieć. Zobaczymy. Czas pokaże jak zwykle, nie? Bang, ludziskiem. Bang. Dobra. Chwilkę przerwy. Pójdę siknąć i zaraz się widzimy.
Niezawodny patent na udany poranek? Ulubiony kawałek jako dźwięk budzika. Dzięki aplikacji Zegar od Google na Androidzie możesz rozpoczynać każdy dzień nie tylko od małej czarnej, ale też wyśmienitej muzyki. No chyba, że wolisz wyciszyć alarm i uciec.
I tak jest. I wyciszymy. Tak jest. Ach, te reklamy. Ach, te reklamy. Spotify bieda, bez premium. Tak to właśnie jest. Dobra, co my tu jeszcze mamy? Tu jest to, to jest to. Dobra, zrobimy tak. Mamy jeszcze jakieś dwa newsiki, ale to zostawimy chyba na weekendzik i poszukamy sobie tego od Path of Exile. To mnie ciekawi. Path of Exile 2. Znajdźmy sobie... Gdzie tu jest? Kiedy to było? Kiedy to było? To jest... To... Content Reveal? 5 dni temu? Tak, to jest chyba to. Jep. Jest polskie tłumaczenie chociaż? English, Polish, jest, dobra. Zobaczymy. Dobra, jest starcik. Kurde, godzina, więc idealnie. Idealnie. Dobra, liziska. Content z POE 2 0.3, patrz.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, and welcome to GGG Live. Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of what's coming next for Path of Exile 2. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so you'll be able to claim the Sun Priest's Incineration rare finisher effect by following the instructions below. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. It's time to give you a teaser of what's coming in Path of Exile 2, The Third Edict.
The Third Edict. Dawać.
I have called you here to save our people, to save our way. Over the ages, we have known pain like no other, but we endured, and we became mighty. Now, outsiders dishonor our shores, and we have stood by, doing nothing. Hear my voice, ancestors! Show us your strength! Show us the true way!
Show us the truth! Ładna macuszka. Buczerek. Tamta scena przypominała mi miasto z Baldur's Gate 3, nie? Lol. Czwarty akcik, nice. Dziś 5 nowych lokacji. Jeszcze 4 nowe bossy, nice. Support Gem Overhaul. Massive Skill Rework. Endgame Maps, New Items. Sprinting. New Trade System. Spoko. And introducing the Void. Rise of the Abyssal. Pięknie. No bardzo ładnie. Bardzo ładnie. 3 dni.
Now, as you can see, there's a lot going on, and we have a lot to reveal today. We'll start by going over Act 4, the next chapter in the Path of Exile 2 storyline. But that's not all. There's also 3 new interlude acts to get you to endgame, which means we're removing cruel difficulty too. After that, we'll be going through the massive changes to characters. I'm super excited to show you how I've overhauled the entire support gem system, added new skills, and yes, there are buffs. Next, we'll go over the Rise of the Abyssal, this season's exclusive league mechanic, and talk about the new rewards, crafting systems, areas, and bosses that it adds. After that, it's on to changes we're making to the endgame. Then it's time to talk about items, crafting, and oh yeah, trade. That's going to be a big one.
O,
We'll then go over our new
asynchroniczny ten trade.
a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask
When
Path of Exile
sellers
game
are
directors
offline,
to
nice.
mark your questions from Twitch chat. And after that, at 4 p.m. Pacific, hatch notes. They're not quite complete, but they should give you some nice details to chew on. We've got a lot to cover today, but first, another announcement. When the third edict launches on the 29th, we'll be having a free weekend for Path of Exile 2. That's right, Path of Exile 2 will be free for the first time without requiring an early access key. The free weekend will end on September the 1st, so you'll have plenty of time to give the game a try. Alright, let's get started with Act 4. The story continues from the end of Act 3. Doryani has agreed to help you find an ancient weapon that can be used against corruption, the instrument of the Third Edict. The weapon was broken in ages past, but he believes that the pieces may be found in the Karui Archipelago, the home of the Karui tribes. You will need to journey to Kingsmarch, hire a ship, and set sail. When you open the map, you can choose to sail anywhere you like. Act 4 is completely non-linear, and you can visit the islands in any order you choose.
O,
Will you visit the pristine beaches of Whakapanu Island? The Karui whisper of a curse that afflicts all who travel there. Perhaps it's related to the weapon you seek. Or maybe you will visit the volcanic shores of the Isle of Kin. The Kin have been more restless recently, mining for sulfite and driven by some dark force. Perhaps you will choose to consult with
czekaj, tam boss się bawił z włókami?
wisdom could hold
Lol.
clues to finding the Third Edict. No matter where you choose to go, you will fight dangerous beasts, find fabulous treasures, and battle incredible bosses.
A challenger!
The Monkey King! Yama the White.
There are 8 islands to discover, each teeming with its own flora and fauna. Act 4 contains over 100 new monster types,
Ooh.
16 new areas, 12 new bosses, and plenty of other interesting encounters. There's a huge
Oh
amount to
my!
cover. I'm not going to spoil too much here. We want to give you a chance to discover it all for yourself. What happens after Act 4? Well, until now you had to repeat the entire campaign again before you could face the endgame. But after adding Act 4, the game is far too long to make you do that. We needed something else to do in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame. So what else could we do? Add 3 new mini-acts, of course, and we're calling them the Interludes. Interludes are a set of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released, that will take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin. The first interlude sends you on a journey back to Ogham. Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild Ogham village after the defeat of Count Geonor, but there's a new danger afoot. The nearby town of Holton is surrounded by an impenetrable darkness, and each night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local farmlands. You will discover new areas and new bosses.
O,
You'll need to
spoko.
find your way through the darkness,
The darkness,
uncover
the
the source of
abyss.
corruption,
Soon you will serve our master.
Yes, sir.
and that's just the first interlude. The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari.
Wiecie, co by było fajne?
But they're nowhere to be
Po
found.
każdym takim
You will need to
akcie,
track down the Selkari,
takie 3 mini interlude akty jeszcze.
find those responsible for disrupting the gifting.
To by było zacne, nie?
Discover the secrets of the ancient ritual. Discover new locations. and ultimately help Asala carry out her sacred duty. Now for Interlude 3. As Royal Thaumaturge of the
To jeszcze jako takie opcjonalne, nie? Ale to mogłoby być już później, nie? Taka wisienka na takim torciku, nie?
Sealing a group of willing Vaal deep in a great mountain vault near the home of the Asmeri, deep enough to survive the cataclysm. Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their descendants may still live, and may be key to defeating the beast. The journey up the mountain will be dangerous. New foes stand in your way. And the further up the mountain you venture, the colder it will become. Explore caves of ice and enter the vault itself. Who can say what you will find within? The interludes are 6 to 7 areas each and generally include 4 boss fights as well. When you put that 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the campaign and 24 new bosses. It's worth making clear that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6 are added, the interludes will be going away. These are side stories after all, but don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interludes...
No właśnie, side stories, ale to fajnie by było, żeby były, nie? Żeby jednak dodali i zostawili to.
We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times on each character, and this was a huge reason that the campaign could feel like a bit of a slog when playing through again. But we do also have another new feature to address that particular concern as well. So let's talk about sprinting.
Pięknie.
In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll button, your character will go into a sprint after they finish the roll.
A jest limitowany
It's
jakiś?
available on all character classes, and there's no limitation on how long you can sprint for. The primary purpose of this feature is to make navigating areas faster when out of combat. Because of that, if you do take a hit while sprinting, you'll fall to the ground. The best idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger. If you do need to run away from monsters, just hold spacebar. You won't be vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any monster in the game, allowing you to retreat from combat. Sprint is a pretty significant change to PoE 2's gameplay. What I like most about it is that we can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want
No,
that,
zdecydowanie.
without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems. Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign, but there's a whole giant league to play through as well. I'll leave that to Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems. Now, support gems are one of the most interesting elements to creating a build. They're what enables so many interesting mechanics and different ways to play. But PoE 2's support gem system has just never been quite right. One of the major issues is the limitation of only having one support gem of each type on your character. We didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build. If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability. And we want to encourage you to combo your abilities, something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem per character. You can now use as many copies as you like. This should drastically increase the amount of possible builds and increase the amount of skill diversity. There are a lot of potential builds that suffered from the previous restriction. For example, a poison build previously couldn't add poison to more than one skill. They couldn't use stacking poison on more than one skill.
O,
This
zarąbiście.
severely limited your ability to combo with anything outside of the specifically designed poison archetype. But now you can. Many
Zarąbiście.
utility skills previously couldn't
Ja
scale
właśnie
to
narzekałem strasznie, że to
make them scale.
byliśmy limitowani, nie?
You would never speed up killing Palm with martial tempo, when you would much rather use it on your primary skill instead. There are more examples like this all over the place. In addition to that, though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports, and many of the most important ones were given out at Tier 1. Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran out of sockets required quite a lot of thinking. In order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through the game. For example, double barrel support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed. At Tier 2, the penalty gets lowered to 20%. But then at Tier 3, the support gem gets something new.
Damn!
It now reloads automatically when you heavy stun an enemy. In some cases, the highest tier
Mega powiem wam.
decide if you like the upgrade or not, depending on your build. For example, rapid casting. The first couple of levels gives 15, then 20% increased cast speed. But then at Tier 3, it changes to a new approach. For each different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10% increased cast speed. which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of different spells. So that's pretty good for upgrades through the campaign, but we wanted to add a little more spice to the endgame for supports too. And that's where our new system, lineage supports, comes in. You can think of these like unique items, but for supports. There are supports that are only available at endgame, but they're much more powerful. Like Ratha's Assault. It's an upgraded version of Double Barrel that reloads your skill as you dodge roll, as well as increasing the number of bolts it can hold. But it does mean that it's the only way you can reload the skill now. Now, unlike regular supports, you can't find these through the uncut support gem. Just like unique items, many of these can be found from specific bosses. And there's a ton in the regular drop pool too. Some of them are fairly rare, others fairly common. Some of them are build defining, others are just straight up power upgrades. All in all, there's around 40 lineage supports being added throughout the endgame, so there's a lot of power to find out there. Now, the new support gems are certainly going to open up a lot of builds, but of course we have a huge range of improvements to individual character classes as well. As well as adding new skills, we had a big focus on buffing existing skills so that they can scale well into the endgame. There's a huge amount to cover here, so we're not going to discuss everything. We're just going to quick fire through some of the coolest changes. We wanted to make cold a more useful element on the Ranger, so we've expanded the cold tools available. As well as increasing its range, Escape Shot now creates fragments of ice whenever it hits the ground. These fragments explode after a short time, making the skill better for killing groups of enemies. But not only that, we added an ice fragment support that creates more of them when killing frozen enemies. And a new buff skill called Ice-Tipped Arrows that allows all your arrows to create ice fragments. This already gives clear to rangers wanting to use ice, but to take further advantage of the ice fragments, Freezing Salvo has been upgraded to shoot additional cold arrows towards every fragment, giving you a nuke-like ability. We've also modified Snipe to consume frozen from enemies, dealing a huge amount more damage, giving you a nice ice single target option. And something you might notice about this is that the bonus is a lot higher against bosses. This is actually a change you'll see throughout the entire game. Since it's a lot harder to freeze a boss, you should get a bigger reward for it. Another thing
Większy boss, większa nagroda, super.
Toxic Growth is a skill that was pretty cool, but a bit annoying to use with the jump that it had. Now Toxic Growth is a range skill, so you can spam it more easily. And we've also added a new poison skill while we were at it, called Toxic Domain. It creates a small area around you that makes all your attacks create toxic growth pustules, but attached to monsters. Another skill that was annoying to use was Electrocuting Arrow. It's now just a regular arrow, making it easier to use.
O, spoko.
It also means you can support it with projectile supports. And it now also has Area of Effect, making it a tool for more than just single target.
Mega
and allowing
spoko.
it to scale into the endgame. We also added a new spirit reservation called Mirage Archer. This is a meta skill that allows you to create shadowy clones of yourself to use a skill of your choice. Of course, one of the other big problems the Ranger had was survivability. Evasion was the weakest of the three defenses, and we wanted to change that. Currently, evasion doesn't evade all types of hits in the game, so you're still vulnerable to things like slams or unblockable attacks. To make evasion characters more tanky, we're adding a new mechanic called Deflect. Unlike evasion, Deflect works on everything, and if you successfully deflect a hit, you take 40% less damage. Items can now give you a mod that gives you some amount of deflection based on your ability. And there's a bunch of it available on the passive tree too. Deflection is rolled in addition to evasion, so this is an upgrade for regular hits too.
Deflection
Unlike
rating,
evasion,
ciekawe.
there's no maximum chance. You can reach 100% deflect against all hits if you spec into it enough. Of course, this is a buff that helps all Dex characters, so the Mercenary and the Monk, but especially the Huntress, are seeing big defense boosts from this as well. Speaking of defensive mechanics, let's talk about block and parry. Now, one of the big concerns on the release of the Huntress was parry feeling unreliable. One of the big reasons for this is there's a lot of hits that are not blockable, and thus not parryable either. So a huge balance change we're making is that now, everything is blockable, except for specifically unblockable red flash skills that bosses use.
Ooh.
This makes parry much more reliable. And not only that, but to make block and parry nicer to use, You now also move faster than before while using these abilities. This is a massive buff to passive block as well, so to counter that we did have to lower the max passive block a bit, but overall you should feel much safer. Fire skills on the warrior were not really cutting the mustard, so we decided we needed to upgrade a bunch of them, but also add some more as well. Let's start with a buff. Volcanic Fissure now branches into multiple fissures, giving it much more clearing potential. We've also added a new skill called Forge Hammer. This skill throws a molten hammer that does a slam at a distance. You can recall the hammer back by using the skill again if you like, but the cooler thing to do is to use a Warcry near it. Using a Warcry makes the hammer explode, making a bunch of volcanic fissures around. Volcanic fissures re-trigger when you slam them, so it's a great skill to make a flaming arena to fight a boss. We also buffed Perfect Strike to have much larger area of effect, and changed Molten Blast to not always force you to move forward. Trust me, it feels a lot better to use now. The skill now has massively boosted chance to ignite monsters as well. And you're going to want to ignite monsters due to a new glory skill called Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry charges up with glory by igniting monsters, invoking King Kaum's favor. After you do, use it to channel Kaum's ancestral power. Every attack will be ancestrally boosted with fire. Your very steps will explode, triggering volcanic fissures, and molten balls will erupt from your attacks. Warrior shield skills were another area we wanted to improve. Now that we've got Sprint, we actually don't need to have a cooldown on shield charge anymore. It now also does more damage the further away you are when you use it. Shield Wall got significantly upgraded AoE. Also, you can shield charge right through it to trigger all the walls. We also added a new shield war cry. Fortifying Cry gives you a defensive buff, but it also builds up charge on your shield that empowers your other shield skills. And Magma Barrier now doesn't require timing in order to use. Just wait for your shield to charge up and block. Seismic Cry now stuns enemies that are primed for stun. And we changed the Sunder interaction with Armor Break. It now also gives a Sundered Armor debuff that makes enemies take 40% extra physical damage. Great for bosses. Ancestral Warrior Totem has undergone some pretty significant changes too. We wanted the skill to feel more like using an ultimate. That summoning an ancestor to fight for you was a big deal. So we've changed this totem to require 3 endurance charges to summon, and massively buffed its damage. It also now scales your weapon damage too. Since there's no limit anymore, if you build around generating endurance charges, you can summon an entire forest of totems. In order to make that easier, we added some new sources of endurance charges. There's now a support to make Perfect Strike generate charges, and a support for generating endurance charges from heavy stuns as well.
Nieźle.
Speaking of totems, we wanted to upgrade the Warbringer. Among the other changes we've made to this class, Answered Call now gives an extra totem, and the spirits have just been generally buffed in many ways. Use it with your limitless ancestral warrior forest to make an army of Karui that would make Tukohama proud. We've also merged the Great Wolf Howl and Warcaller's Bellow support, so that you can get all the benefits with 1 point. And Encased in Jade no longer removes the Jade when getting hit, making it a much better defense. Next up, let's talk about accuracy. Accuracy was always intended to be something that warriors didn't need to care about very much so long as they're in close combat. But unfortunately, that's not currently the case. This was particularly annoying with skills like Bone Shatter, which you certainly don't want to mess with. So we significantly buffed your chance to hit at close ranges when you don't have much accuracy. Warriors shouldn't require any accuracy investment in order to hit with close range attacks now. We also wanted to improve armor. Now, one of the major weaknesses of armor is the inability to defend against elemental damage. In order to mitigate this, we're adding a lot more of the stat that allows your armor to defend against elemental damage.
Oh.
It's now available on items and in a lot more places on the passive tree.
Też jest spoko.
One of the most important improvements we've made in 030 is to declunk the action and flow of shooting crossbows. You can now reload crossbows without any movement penalty. But not only that, all skills that can be used while moving now slow you for a shorter amount of time. This change benefits everyone, not just crossbow skills. With both of these changes put together, the run and gun playstyle feels much better. It's hard to explain how important this change is for the feel of the class. The Mercenary is also a good chance to talk about how we're rebalancing to make comboing skills much better. Take Shock, for example. It buffs damage and lasts 4 seconds right now. But that isn't really giving you enough time to take advantage of it. If you're going to add a lightning skill into a build that otherwise wouldn't use one, we need to make mechanics like this much better. So we've increased shock duration on monsters to last 8 seconds. And skills like Plasma Blast, which are intended to be good at shocking enemies, now increase the damage bonus by a lot more. You'll find changes like this all around the game. Chill now lasts 8 seconds, giving you more of a reason to weave in cold damage. Freezing skills are better at freezing. Burning skills need to cause burns that last longer. But making skills like Permafrost Bolts and Incendiary Shot double down on how they're supposed to be used, it makes using them in your build alongside other skills much more likely. We're also making sure to buff specific combos too. The freeze explosions from frag rounds now chain to nearby enemies. And using high velocity rounds with armor break will now fragment the opponent's armor. This causes monsters to take a portion of high velocity rounds damage with every subsequent hit, even tiny pellets. So that means following it with a shotgun blast is way more effective. Now there's a lot more buffs to crossbow skills, but for now I'm just going to talk about the new one we added, the Mortar Cannon.
Ooh, Mortar Cannon? Ooh.
And using it will summon a cannon which loads and then fires the grenade you choose.
Nice.
Another issue on the Mercenary were banners. They were just not very good, so we're doing a big upgrade to them. They now last longer, don't disappear when moving out of them, and we removed the Valor mechanic. They now just give a much more consistent and stronger buff, and you can use them when you get enough glory. On which, one of the main focuses was making various minion types more useful to use together. Melee minions in particular were just not that great compared to ranged ones. As a starting point, we just straight up removed the requirement for minions to have accuracy. Attack minions now always hit, which makes them way better. Brutes got some good numeric buffs, but we also added a new command skill where they do a war cry that intimidates enemies and detonates any frozen monsters and allies around you in a big cold explosion. We've also changed the Frost Mage's command skill to an ability that adds ice armor to your other minions, adding a layer of defense. And it makes them deal cold damage back to the attacker as well. The ice armor also makes the minion count as frozen, so the Brute's war cry can detonate them too. Unearth was changed to work on corpses of your dead skeletons, allowing you to summon the minions more easily in boss fights.
Ooh.
And they also got a new jump ability, allowing them to get into combat faster. Ray's Spectre was also feeling pretty weak for the spirit cost they have. To be honest, we were a little afraid of these when we first balanced them. We've both decreased the spirit cost for a large range of monsters, and have significantly increased Spectre damage too. They should feel a lot more impactful. There's also a lot of new spellcaster weapons with newer cult skills, but I'll just talk about one of them that I thought was particularly cool. The Reaping Staff is actually a wicked scythe. It gives you a new ability called Reap. When an enemy is low,
Reap the
you can
soul.
forward and rake enemies with the scythe to cull them instantly, healing you. It can also inflict critical weakness on enemies too. Now, there's a lot of balance changes in the Witcher's Ascendancy classes, but I'll just talk about 2 of them for now. On the Blood Mage, you were previously required to spend your first points on Sanguimancy, which really was supposed to be the downside for being able to access the powerful abilities on the rest of the class. In order to make picking the Blood Mage a better early option, we've made Sanguimancy free, unlocking the power of the rest of the class immediately.
Oh.
On the Infernalist, the Demon form wasn't something people were really using because you lost your weapon stats while transformed. Well, you no longer do, so it's a much better option now. On the Monk, the Wind skills needed a big upgrade for sure. Staggering Palm can now stack up its duration if you use the skill multiple times in a row, so you can keep the effect of all your skills throwing up wind much more easily. Wind Blast had the purpose of building up to dazing an enemy, but dazing just wasn't worth all that effort. Now it just dazes on hit, meaning a single Wind Blast will make all your skills stun enemies more easily. Following up with Vaulting Impact on a dazed enemy previously did a bunch of stun. Now it allows you to break your enemy's stance. When their stance is broken, following up with a fast attack will do way more damage. A cool build that certain people always enjoyed in PoE 1 was hand-to-hand combat, but until now we just didn't have a real way to make it viable. Well, that changes now. The Monk, as a true martial artist, now has the ability to learn the Hollow Palm technique, a keystone that lets you use all quarterstaff skills while unarmed. All quarterstaff attacks now have a special unarmed version, and you get further bonuses to all your attacks from stacking Energy Shield and Evasion on your character. A new keystone we also added to the monk section of the tree is Walker of the Wilds. This changes mana leech to work with elemental damage instead of physical, which is pretty useful for all those elemental attacks the monk has. But it works well for the
Damn, nieźle.
Now, one of the least used ascendancy classes in the game is the Acolyte of Triula, so we knew we needed to make some changes here. One of the key things we had to do was make the chaos damage that the Acolyte can do much more useful. So we've added a new skill, allowing chaos damage to ignite, shock, chill, and freeze, embracing the elemental prowess of the monk in a truly chaotic fashion. In addition, he can make all of his chaos damage leech. And we've buffed Into the Breach and Embrace the Darkness by moving the effects of the 4-point nodes into the base skills. He also gains a new notable, Grasp of the Void, which leaves void illusions behind you as you dodge roll. If they're killed, they do massive explosions of darkness, dealing damage to everything in sight.
Damn.
Sorceress skills. One of the things we wanted to improve on the Sorc is the ability to use multiple elements together more effectively. Now, this might seem small, but one of the things pushing you towards using a single element is debuffs like Elemental Curses, which lower resistances of a single element. In order to fix that, we're making quite a lot of game-wide changes to these kinds of mechanics to broaden what they apply to. So for example, there's no longer 3 curses for fire, ice, and lightning. Instead, there's just a single curse that buffs all 3 at the same time. And things like Frostbomb, which gave you cold exposure, now give elemental exposure. You can use it to buff any of your other skills. We also wanted to make switching between different weapon sets smoother, so you can use different elemental staves more effectively. To do that, we've removed the weapon switch time, and now happens instantly. This applies game-wide too. Now, we didn't just want to stop there. We wanted to add some specific mechanics that work between different elements, and that's where elemental infusions come in. Certain skills can now drop elemental infusions. For example, when a frostbomb explodes, it leaves behind a cold infusion on the ground. After picking it up, you can spend it on one of any number of different skills to transform how they work. Spark will create a nova of cold-infused projectiles. Ice Nova will leave a chilled area on the ground. And we also added a new low-level skill that fires ice shards. Use it with cold infusion though, and the ice shards will explode. Orb of Storms now generates lightning infusions when you cast enough spells near it. And that's all spells, by the way, not just lightning. Once you have one, you could cast a lightning flame wall, which adds both fire and lightning damage to all the projectiles that pass through it. Or power up Ember Fusillade with lightning, which will generate arcs to nearby enemies as each fireball hits. Or maybe go lightning on lightning with arc. This skill is now a projectile, and by infusing it, you can go full Palpatine.
Ooh, full Palpatine. An infinite power.
You can use them with Comet to summon a giant fire meteor from the sky. Or use it with Firestorm, which transforms it from a small area into a much bigger one. Firestorm is unique in that it can be infused by multiple different elements at the same time. Add an ice infusion to rain down ice at the same time as the fire. And add lightning to add deadly strikes from the heavens into the mix. Or use it with all 3 to generate a storm that is truly apocalyptic. Cold Snap has been simply turned into Snap. Previously you could use it to shatter ice, but now it works to detonate all of the different elemental ailments, and makes them leave behind infusions. And just like how you could previously use it on Frostbolt, you can now also use it on Orb of Storms and Solar Orb to detonate those as well, which means you can create many infusions at once. We also have a Spirit Reservation skill, and a support gem to help generate them too. On the passive tree, we've added quite a few new keystones to the Sorceress section. Here are a couple of examples. The Black Flame Covenant keystone converts your fire spells to chaos, and causes your ignites to deal chaos damage.
Pięknie.
Your fire spells and ignites will also turn purple.
O kurde.
Ritual Cadence keystone causes your invocation skills to trigger more times. It makes them trigger periodically over a longer duration instead of one. Great for those auto-bomber builds. Now, in addition to skill changes, we've added a lot more options for the passive tree for each class. Overall, there are more than 100 new notables on the tree, usually around 20 per class, along with smaller clusters as well. Check out the old version, And here's the new version. It's a lot
Damn.
more dense, and there's more interesting nodes than before. Now, we probably can't go through too many of these in the live stream, so I'll just show you one from each class's area of the tree. We tried to be a lot more thematic with the new nodes. So for example, the Molten One's Gift. It lets the benefit of armor break apply to your fire damage. Or how about Last Stand, which gives you lots of stats as your situation becomes more and more desperate. A
Nieźle.
lot of these have themes aligning with ascendancy classes. Like for the Gemling Legionnaire, for example. You have crystallized immunities, which makes you immune to different status ailments, depending on which support gem color you have socketed the most. Another ascendancy class aligned notable is Sanguimatic Rituals. It allows arcane surges to generate life instead of mana, unlocking that support gem to be used with the Blood Mage Ascendancy. In the Sork area, you'll find these Archon nodes that allow you to convert all of your elemental damage to a specific element. You become a Lightning Archon when you spend enough mana, after which all your skills will be converted to lightning, and you will do extra lightning damage as well. We have ones for cold and fire too, with different triggers. Here's another cool one. Elemental Practitioner gives crit bonuses if you've triggered a skill recently, while also making crits generate more energy for triggers. Or maybe you'd like the Great Boar. It gives you a reason to stack dexterity to make you tougher, giving a bonus to life and stun threshold. Or the Cunning Fox. It straight up gives you 5% quality to all your gems.
Nieźle.
Now another major change is attribute requirements. We felt like players probably had a few too many nodes and attributes and not enough in interesting passives, so we lowered attribute requirements by 25% across the board. That means you'll have more points to spend on interesting notables rather than just needing to allocate more strength, dex, and int. Now there are way more changes than just these. These are just some of the cooler ones we wanted to show off, but I'd say that's just about enough for now. We're not even half done yet. So I think it's time that we talk about the League, the rise of the Abyssal.
Yes.
And to do that, I'd like to hand things over to Mark.
As you just saw, even though there are major changes to the campaign for this update, we want to make sure that every time you come back for an expansion, each area feels different with something extra going on. It is really important to make sure your experience when returning between expansions is fresh and filled with new content. And the way we did this was through leagues. Every expansion we make has a league, which not only has a fresh economy, but also has new content exclusively available in that league. So, let's delve into the details of what Path of Exile 2's first official league is bringing to the table. The Abyssal are a race that have mastery of forbidden magics and necromancy. They were thought to be extinct, but have merely been biding their time underground. You first encounter signs of the Abyssal in Clairfell, where you discover that during the night, weaker members of the Undead Legion have been attacking the encampment. The townsfolk require your help to investigate where the monsters are coming from and put a stop to their attacks.
Out there, ancient creatures, lurking beneath the surface.
As you proceed through Rayclast, you'll find fissures in the earth connected to larger pits. The monsters normally inhabiting the area are being affected by it, harmed by it even, having their souls eaten to strengthen the Abyssal underground.
Oof.
As you defeat the monsters, the fissure closes and Abyssal emerge, angered by you killing their food. Once all those fissures have been sealed, the pit activates, and more Abyssal pour out. This is where the larger and more dangerous monsters reveal themselves, as hordes of Abyssal spew out from the pit to take your soul. If you kill a magic pack, then magic Abyssal arise. If you kill a rare, then a rare monster will emerge from the pit, having absorbed some or all of its modifiers for itself. This means the monsters emerging will generally be more difficult and more rewarding, as each modifier gives better rewards.
Okay.
If you are able to kill them all, the pit will seal shut. As each pit is closed, it reveals a potential reward. Abyssal troves will rise up out of the pits, allowing you to get some epic loot.
Epic loot. Pięknie.
Areas often contain many pits, with many fissures, and the amount goes up as you progress through the game, getting more intense. It doesn't stop there. When monster mods are absorbed, they have a chance to become infused with the dark necromancy, transforming them into abyssal modifiers.
Ooh.
For example, you defeat this monster with the Mana Siphoner modifier. Their soul is eaten by the pit, and a rare monster emerges. The Mana Siphoner modifier has transformed into Soul Siphoner and is now amplified in danger and reward. Abyssal pits also interact with other monsters and mechanics. If you defeat a rogue exile that's near one, it'll be revived as a Lichborn that has multiple abyssal modifiers.
What?
Lichborn exiles even have their own unique jewel they can drop, if you are lucky enough to encounter and kill them. If an abyss spawns near a boss, killing it will summon a gigantic Giga Larvae creature.
What?
Monsters imprisoned in essences near abyssal pits are affected by the abyss too. They will come with an additional new essence item that can be used to craft your items. So, that's your bread and butter of the Abyssal League. Kill surface-dwelling monsters, kill the emerging abyssal, close the fissures, overcome pit encounters, and reap the rewards. There's a lot more to this league, however. As you complete abysses, you can find ancient pieces of bone, preserved from the remains of fallen Lichborn. These are one of the many rewards for your mission to seal the pits. You can use this on a rare item to imbue it with abyssal magic, adding a special hidden modifier to your item. But how do you reveal it? In Act 2 of the campaign, you'll encounter a new area. This area is overrun by the Abyssal and the Lost Men. After clearing through this area, you'll find the Well of Souls, a giant cavity with a massive vortex of souls swirling beneath you. So how do you reveal the mods on your abyssal-infused items? Obviously, just throw them in, right? Yes, that's exactly what you do. Before throwing it in, you are given the option of how you want to transform it, in the form of a choice of 3 different modifiers. Once you've chosen your desired mod, throw it in, where it will absorb the power of the souls, and the ominous creature will then retrieve it for you. These modifiers can be ones from the core mod pool, all the way through to specialized modifiers that cannot normally appear on items. During the campaign, you can use it as a way to more easily add useful existing mods, but during the endgame, there is a whole set of new and powerful mods you can add to your items.
Pięknie.
Like this mod for crossbows that allows you to place an additional ballista totem. Or this one that adds spirit to your staff.
Ooh.
Or this one that allows you to generate more combo with your quarterstaff skills. And speaking of endgame, you can also use the system to craft waystones. With a preserved vertebrae fused into your waystones, you can get some new modifiers,
Nani?
push difficulty and rewards to new heights. Here are some examples of those mods. You always get a choice of 3, so you can avoid anything you don't think your character is capable of. With this modifier, the natural inhabitants of the area are all spawned near abysses, and there are up to 9 additional abyssal pits in the area, making it just a full-on abyss ruckus.
Oof. Oh dear.
Or this one, which causes the final abyssal pit in the area to always result in a boss encounter, be it either one underground or one that emerges out. There are dozens of these waystone modifiers in total you can get from this crafting. That covers the new crafting mechanic, so what's left? Well, we talked about how when closing pits you can get abyssal troves, but sometimes when closing an abyss, you'll reveal an underground cavern that leads to the abyssal depths. After
The
jumping
Dark
into the
Domain?
depths, you'll find an abyssal city, swarming with legions of the undead. When underground, every single rare abyssal enemy will have an abyssal modifier. And at the end of the dungeon, you'll even find a rare with a more powerful Lichborn modifier. Once you're able to defeat this powerful rare, you can also find some nice rewards. Aside from the entire area being valuable due to the abyssal modifiers on the monsters, it has its own specific drops too. One example is a set of lineage supports that can rarely be found in these depths, like Kurgel's Leash. This support empowers both you and your minions when you command them, granting unholy might to you both. Another depth-specific outcome is a set of omen-like items that amplify your abyssal crafting. Additionally, we're adding some new socketables that can drop from the abyssal depths. Take Ulliman's Gaze, which can be socketed into your armor. These are a bit special in that you can only have one equipped at a time, but give some pretty powerful effects. Think of them as almost a unique socketable for your equipment. In the endgame, where you can still find depths, you also start to find a different type of underground chamber. In these areas, you'll find an ancient spire, a device being used by commanders of the abyssal factions to plunge Rayclast into a lightless void. Your goal is simple: kill this commander and destroy the spire. There are 4 bosses in the Abyss League, and there are some pretty cool uniques available from them. An example is this belt, Darkness Enthroned. It has 2 sockets, but hold on, socketables don't work on belts. Well, this belt has a special mod that allows it to count as a different slot for the purpose of socketables. This one, for example, counts as a helmet. I kind of want one that counts as a body armor. I wonder how rare that one is. You can also find this unique jewel, Undying Hate.
Oh.
This jewel transforms part of your passive skill tree into an abyssal version, and has multiple depths. The deeper it goes, the more of your passive tree is affected, allowing you to fulfill your fantasy of becoming part Abyssal Lich.
Okay.
Now, the last thing that Abyssal commanders can drop is a Finger of the Lich. But what use do you have with a random undead finger? Well, the next time you return to the Well of Souls, with the finger in your inventory, your character will almost feel compelled. To do what, though, you might ask? To jump in. The items you threw in came back more powerful, right? So, what's the worst that could happen? Well, you will just have to find that one out for yourself. Introduction
Guys.
of Act 4 and the interlude, we will be adding 25 new in-game maps. These maps will contain all the new monsters and bosses we're adding, improving variety and giving you opportunities to experience the new boss fights many times. Let's take a look at some examples. Rock Pools is a map where you explore a shallow rocky coastline, surrounded by coral and filled with sirens. At the end is a giant Goblin King boss, ready to eat sulfite and squish you like a bug. Holton is an Ezomite township which has seen better days. Explore and clear the township to find a gothic, Reaper-like boss, with the ability to manipulate storms and fry you with both lightning
Ciora, Blade of the Mist.
Given some of the
Spoko.
new bosses added are a bit more epic, such as the Act boss and final bosses of each interlude part, it would be a bit of a waste to just use them as regular map bosses. Instead, we'll be adding some new mechanics to the Atlas that use them. These start appearing pretty fast into the endgame and will help bridge the gap until you do your pinnacle bosses. In the desert biome, you can encounter a wild sandstorm. 3 maps around the sandstorm contain a device you must activate. Upon doing this, the sandstorm's magic is disrupted, revealing the map inside and allowing you to access it and find the cause. This presents itself in the form of a boss, similar to the existing Citadel bosses. This boss is a Faradin Swordmaster, who has been blessed with the power of a Time Djinn, allowing him to take his swordsmanship to the next level by replicating himself, maneuvering rapidly, and severing the fabric of time itself with his powerful slashes. In the water biome, you'll encounter a giant maelstrom, where one of the maps surrounding the water biome connects to it, but the connection is obscured. You must run the maps nearby, hoping to find a beacon, which will remove the maelstrom and reveal the connection to that map. Another example is this Vaal vault in the mountain biome.
Ooh.
But how do we get inside? Running the adjacent maps to it will yield a key, which you can then use to gain access to this vault. Or, you could just trade for one, I guess. Use the key to dispel the powerful force field surrounding it, leading to the Vaal Elite and their rewards inside. These all contain Uber versions of the Act 4 boss.
Teraz można ten, 2 czarby mieć.
Part of the interlude.
Fajnie.
and each have their own exclusive drop pool of new lineage supports, which, as Jonathan spoke about earlier, are powerful support gems that modify your skills in pretty crazy ways. As an example of a lineage support which can come from the Faradin Swordmaster mentioned earlier, we have Garo-Khan's Resolve, which causes your critical strikes to fork, but requires some mobility on your part to properly enable. From the boss sealed in the Val Vault, we have Paquate's Pact, which supports your war cries, causing them to inflict massive amounts of corrupted blood at the cost of your own life. Additionally, some maps can now spawn summoning circles, a room resembling an Ezomite henge.
Ooh.
Activating this henge will spawn bosses. It's as simple as that. We'll also be making changes to how affixes and waystones work, as the current prefixes equals good, suffixes equals bad iteration isn't quite hitting the mark. We tried something new here in Path of Exile 2, but after seeing the feedback we decided we actually liked what we had in Path of Exile 1 more. Like Path of Exile 1, each affix will now be both difficult and rewarding. Waystone mods now grant an increase to the number of waystones dropped.
O Jesus,
and an
ile?
additional
O mój
specific
Boże.
upside attached to it. This means as you roll your map, they will continue to get more difficult and more rewarding, and allow you to customize the difficulty and rewards of your maps better. For example, the Frostbitten mod, which causes enemies to deal cold damage, also increases the rarity of items dropped as its upside. Whereas the Of Venom suffix modifier, which causes enemies to poison on hit, has the upside of granting increased pack size. Some maps will end up having a lot of rarity, some a lot of pack size, and others will just have a mixture of everything. Due to now having more modifiers granting difficulty, we will of course be reducing the difficulty per modifier to account for this. So, that's your Atlas, maps, and waystones, but what about Breach, Ritual, Pinnacle content, and others of the sort? We're making some changes around this too. The first change is that you'll now be able to invest 2 points into your specific League Atlas trees before having to run the Pinnacle content. There will be a specific objective for each type of content which grants you those points. For example, in the case of Delirium, it's simple. You just need to find and kill one of the bosses in a map, Omniphobia or Kosis. The rest of the points for each content come from the Pinnacle content, but we're making some changes to accessibility here too. Currently, access to most Pinnacle content requires the same key at the easiest and most difficult version of the content. This creates a negative feeling where at lower difficulties, instead of wanting to run the content, you're often better off just selling it to someone who can run it at maximum difficulty. To address this, each content will now drop splinters, which will not form into singular items. Instead of using the singular combined item in the Realm Gate, you can now just bring your splinters. Upon inserting the splinters into the Realm Gate, an interface will appear, allowing you to pick your difficulty, and you'll notice each difficulty has a different entry cost.
Ooh.
This means if you want to run easier difficulties, it costs less, which also allows you to run this content much sooner into the endgame. Because these encounters now just require splinters, their corresponding Atlas tree no longer affects the difficulty of them, and has been changed to purely affect the content and maps on the Atlas. The Arbiter of Ash works a bit differently. Instead of requiring splinters, he still needs crisis fragments. We now have only 2 difficulties of the Arbiter. The first, requiring the existing fragments obtained from citadels. The second, Uber Arbiter, requires calamity fragments. These come from citadel bosses also, but only once you've allocated the maximum number of points in your boss Atlas tree, ensuring those citadels are at their highest difficulty level. Since we're talking about Pinnacle content, we also felt that the leveling curve in the late game was a bit too steep. We've smoothed this out a bit so that it's easier to get to the mid-90s. We've also added some new in-game unique items. Let's take a look at a couple. Thunderfist is a pair of gloves that grants Crackling Palm, a skill which empowers your unarmed attacks, granting the ability to call down the storms themselves on enemies you hit.
Czyli dla mnicha idealne.
Literally every monster you hit with your unarmed skills will be struck by powerful lightning.
Nice.
Pair this with the aforementioned hollow palm technique to embrace your true unarmed prowess in combat. Another unique we're adding is Henekura's Sight. Equip this amulet to be granted the power of the Mother of Death herself. This is reflected by granting you a skill called Foresight. While you have Foresight, your dodge roll no longer avoids hits. But instead, being hit while dodge rolling restores you to full life and makes you unable to die for a brief period of time. You'll notice when this does occur, a copy of your character appears and takes the full damage. This is you seeing that future, as if you hadn't been wearing the amulet. Ultimately, your in-game experience should be more streamlined. With new content to find, you'll be able to invest in your Atlas trees sooner, engage with pinnacle content faster, have less FOMO running said pinnacle content, reach higher levels easier, and do all of that while finding many new chase endgame items. Talking about finding items is one thing, but what about crafting them? We've taken a step back and looked at some of our crafting systems to make some notable improvements. Let's start with essences, which suffered from an issue where the regular essences were effectively useless and didn't give players the tools or excitement that a crafting system should provide. To alleviate these concerns, essences are being changed in a few ways. Firstly, they're being changed to function like regals and add specific modifiers with specific values, meaning you know exactly what you're going to get. We found that players were often bottlenecked by regal orbs when crafting in the campaign, so this helps to fill that gap, allowing you to better upgrade your items. For example, this Lesser Essence of Flames, which will be able to add a flat amount of fire damage to your magic martial weapons. Secondly, we're adding many more tiers. That Lesser Essence of Flames, for example, has a regular variant and a greater variant too, adding even more fire damage with each upgrade. The intention of this is so that when you find one early on, you don't worry about holding on to it till later to use on a higher level item. You should feel free to use them as they come to get powerful upgrades during the campaign.
Spoko.
Lastly, our highest tier of essences, now called Perfect Essences, will function like a Chaos Orb instead of a Regal. So it will replace one of the modifiers on your rare items with the specified mod, such as this Perfect Essence of Flames. You'll notice this one doesn't just add flat fire damage like the ones before it. The Perfect Essences often give something a bit different, with some opportunities to be pretty damn powerful. There are many different essences, each with many tiers, covering many of the more core modifiers you'd want on items early on, through to chase specialized ones for in-game. Speaking of in-game, we really wanted to expand our crafting options for late in-game crafting projects. You might have noticed that at in-game, you get way too many transmutes. Wouldn't it be nice if some of those didn't drop, but instead you got something a little more powerful?
Yep.
At higher levels, you can now find Greater Orb of Transmutation and Perfect Orb of Transmutation.
Oh.
These can be used on normal items to upgrade them to magic, ensuring that the modifier generated is of a minimum level. This is similar to how you find higher tier items on the ground, but for crafting. These higher tiers will also exist for Orb of Augmentation, Regal Orb,
Nice.
Exalted Orb, and Chaos Orb.
Okay.
Meaning you can get all of the orbs required to take your item from normal rarity to a fully completed rare with guaranteed high tier mods. On top of these new core crafting currencies, we wanted to make sure there are powerful crafting bases to use them on. Now in endgame, you can start to find exceptional items. These are items that drop at normal rarity and are perfect for your from-scratch crafting projects.
Ooh.
They can come with extra quality, up to 30%, or an additional socket to use your crafting socketables in. And yes, they can be corrupted for yet another socket.
Dang!
You can also get exceptional unique items. To add even further to your crafting arsenal, we've added a whole suite of new omens to ritual content, and removed some of the more unimpactful ones that weren't being used. Some of the new omens include the Omen of the Ancients, which will cause your next Orb of Chance to not destroy the item, but generate a random unique of the same class. Or the Omen of Sanctification, which is my new favorite. This will cause your next divine orb used on a rare item to re-roll the values of its modifiers, allowing it to exceed the normal minimum and maximum values, raising the ceiling on the new most powerful rare items in the game. This omen will also cause your item to become sanctified. Sanctified items cannot be crafted, just like corrupted ones, so consider carefully when you use this. Another is the omen of chaotic monsters, which will cause your next Chaos Orb to re-roll all modifiers on a waystone, allowing you to fix your maps if you get some modifiers that are not feasible for your build. Besides these examples, there's a huge variety of new omens for you to discover in your ritual encounters. With the release of Act 4, notably taking place in the Trailery archipelago, you'll be able to now find a new currency item, Henikora's Lock. Henikora, the Trailery goddess of death, has the power of foresight and is able to see many futures, including the outcome of your next craft. So, imbuing her lock onto an item gives you that same power too. For example, you'll know whether or not to use an Exalted Orb on your item, as you will know exactly what the outcome is. So, with all these new crafting improvements, it's safe to say you're going to be making some epic items, and not necessarily just ones for yourself. So given that, it's time to talk about a massive one. Trade. It's finally here. The moment we've all been waiting for.
No, dawaj.
Fully asynchronous trade.
Tak jest.
Over the years, the way players trade with each other in Path of Exile 1 has morphed from using the forums, through to the in-game chat, all the way through to using the website. These systems, in all their iterations, work for a while, but with each iteration, new problems eventually reveal themselves. Be it requiring you to be in your hideout too much instead of out there killing monsters, or never getting responses from people who are either AFK or just can't be bothered. In order to finally solve this, and this has been a long time coming, we're adding a new system that allows you to buy items from other players without requiring the seller to be present. They can continue farming, killing monsters, AFK, and can even be offline. With the introduction of King's March in Act 4, you will encounter Ange, assistant to Rog in the Meridian Free Traders Company.
Action House.
Over the last 2 decades or so, since Path of Exile 1's storyline, Faustus has handed down his knowledge and expertise to Ange, and she is now ready to take over his business. If you have a hideout unlocked already, you can immediately invite her there. If you don't have a hideout yet, you will need to acquire one. You can do this by completing a quest to defeat one of the bosses inhabiting an island in Act 4, allowing you then to take a slice of it for yourself, making it your new home and base of operations. Once invited to your hideout, she will now serve as operating your currency exchange,
Manage shop.
but also serve as the figurehead in your new trading empire. So, how does this new system work? In the existing trade system, you would list items for sale in premium stash tabs. And then when someone wanted one, you'd have to take it out for yourself and trade it to them. Now, instead of using those, you can give your items to Ange so she can sell them for you. Each item must have a price set. The prices are set using in-game currency items, such as Exalted Orbs or Chaos Orbs. Once a price is set, other players will be able to find the item by searching for it on the trade website.
Oh, secure item.
Once a desired item has been found, you can hit a button, which will instantly teleport your character in-game.
Oh.
Then, you can immediately purchase the item. And while there, if you want, browse their other goods, in case there's a good deal someone else hasn't yet discovered. You'll notice that as a buyer, on top of the currency the seller set for the price, it also costs gold to purchase an item, as Ange has bills to pay after all. As a seller, you'll immediately receive a notification when an item of yours is sold, and can also see an effect above Ange in your hideout when she has unclaimed currency. Just go talk to her, claim your currency, and continue playing at your leisure. As many people already acquired premium stash tabs for the purpose of the trade system, we wanted to add a way for you to convert your existing tabs to merchants tabs. if you want. You can do that here on the website.
O,
Only if you
spoko.
purchase those tabs before the release of the third edict. To clarify, the existing trade system will remain fully intact, so your premium stash tabs will not lose any of their functionality. We just figured people might want to switch over to this new system. We expect a lot of feedback around this new system and are looking forward to trying it out with you. As we are not able to test internally with an entire, thriving economy, there will certainly be some kinks to work out. Based on how the system goes, we will be adding it to Path of Exile 1 when ready, so any of the tabs you purchase will also be usable there later. Next up, we're going to be talking about our...
Nieźle, nieźle. Tu teraz będę gadać o support packach, które mnie za bardzo nie interesują, ale powiem tak. Nie planowałem pogrywać w POE 2 do czasu, kiedy nie wypuszczą 1.0, ale ten nowy patch, ta nowa liga tak kurde kusi, tak skubani kuszą, że istnieje duża szansa, że możemy wskoczyć do POE i obadać te smaczki, które tam są. A startuje w piątek, a co za tym idzie, istnieje duża szansa, że po horrorku z piętuniem możemy wskoczyć na POE. Także wszystko się tutaj bardzo mocno okaże. Dobra. Dobra, Liska. I co? Pięknie. Pięknie, czego dzięki. Idealnie bym powiedział. Idealnie wskoczyliśmy. Zarąbiście. Bo mamy praktycznie już końcówkę. 3 minutki i wskoczyło jak na tacy. Jak na tacy powiedziałbym. Więc ja będę uciekał. Widzimy się jutro, ludziska. Jutro jest środowanie poddania, więc jutro będziemy piekać sobie na pewno w kazana. I później widzimy się w piątunio przy horrorku i prawdopodobnie Prawowiek Exile 2 patch 0.3 i będziemy badać sobie nową ligę. Także taki jest prawdopodobnie plan. Wszystko jeszcze wyjdzie w pranku, jak to zwykle bywa, więc ja na pewno dziękuję serdecznie za dzisiejszy kawałeczek wieczorka. Życzę wam dalszego miłego wieczorka, no i do zobaczenia o godzinie 19. Trzymajcie się. Hej.